If you do not want to change, if you do not want to better yourself, if you do not want to break outside of this matrix, if you want to live in your comfortable delusion that they have built for you, do not watch these videos. Leave this channel immediately. If you do not want any truth, if you don't want to understand, if you are not here to hear something that's outside of your own mind and accept others' minds and opinions and the way they think for themselves, you do not belong here. And finally, if you are not trying to be positive, if you are not trying to help create solutions while we discuss the problems and how they got here, you do not belong here. Negativity, hate, disrespect, name calling, those things will not be allowed here on this platform and not in this empire. We are the ones, the true Americans, that want to be free and stand as we have always stood.
Getting smoked in the dark, hella cooking shit up. If your ass wanna spar, barbecue your beef up like the seats in my car. Cool yourself off, refrigerator and jar. Baby rappers been acting like this is not an art. Huh, you forgot about that part. Lady rappers been acting like this is not an art. Huh, you forgot about that part. Yo, what up, guys? You know what time it is. We up in here. We gotta do it again. Welcome to the building. You know it's time to turn up a bit. Hey, for all the people that was working today, thank you for working. We appreciate you. Sorry, that was bothering me. We appreciate you, all right? If it wasn't for you, the world wouldn't go around like it does. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with the world that you're leaving behind, all right? Everybody knows and everybody understands we have to work, okay? Everybody has to work. You cannot get around it. He who does not work does not eat, okay? It is work to plant the seed. It is work to water the seed. It is work to grow the seed, all right? We need to take this into account when we are doing anything in the world, because we cannot get away with nothing for nothing. It does not work that way, okay, guys? So don't even think about it for 1 second as if you guys are going to get away with this shit, okay? You're not getting away with it. You got to work. You got to work. I'm sorry. It's just a part of the game, G. And if you feel like you ain't got to work, well, you're probably a woman that's taking care of the house, and guess what? That is work too. So all the stay-at-home moms out there, shout out. Y'all work overtime all the time. And you know what? You're always on my mind because you a wifey, and wifeys deserve to be taken care of. So all the husbands out there, step it up a notch. Just a notch for your wifey. You feel me? It's not even about the money. It's about the little things. It's about the little things, all right? The little things is what's going to get the wifey to be like, all right, you know what? He actually cares. Because you could spend all the money. Oh, I pay all the bills, blah, blah, blah. That man, bro, that you supposed to. You a man. You have to. I mean, like, even if she wasn't there, you was going to. So you can't even use that, bro. Like, let's just keep it a buck, all right? So this is my first time going live on Instagram, you feel me? I was putting it off for a little while, but hey, thank you for coming. All the people out here on YouTube, you know, we out here in these streets Monday through Friday at 6:30 or 6:45, which is about 10 minutes ago. So we turning up, you know, right now we just chopping it. I'll do the interview with the AI at the end like I always do. Right now I was going to go over some current events. We did try to stop the war and everything. We sent the senator that plan for the golf and everything like that. Right now it looks like it covers all the stuff that both sides want. So we'll see if they actually utilize that. It's probably not being even looked at right now because you know how they are up there. It's unsolicited, whatever, bro. Anyways, we all trying to do our part around here. So us here in America, let's remember that we are the final stand of freedom, or per se free speech. All right, man, say what you want to say what you got to say, but don't do it in a rude way. Then they can't complain. You feel me? Because people keep saying it's not about what you said, it's how you said it. All right, bro, I'm gonna be super nice about telling you exactly what I'm about to say. All right, all All right, look, this might hurt your feelings, but I'm gonna say this as nice as possible. That's how you start the sentence. Boom. And then you just start firing away, bro. Real shit. All right. Next, right? So, they started the war again, right? Everybody's starting to ramp up. You know, when you're trying to, you negotiate with your ops, right? You already know how that could get, especially when somebody wants blood, somebody wants revenge, and then one person feels like they're being bullied when they're actually the aggressor. So there's that manipulation tactic that they're doing in there. You know how it is with humans and manipulation and things like that. So we have to always take into account that the mind and the heart need to be in balance. You got to be in the same frequency. That was one of the things that we were talking about, how frequencies are actually the tool that we utilize when we want to manipulate our reality. If you get in tune with your emotions, right, you can figure out which ones are not productive, because we have productive emotions and non-productive emotions, and we have to make sure we're determining which ones we're using. Sadness is non-productive. It shuts you off from the world, puts you in a little ball, and it kind of sheds all motivation, right? And you're just unmotivated. Okay, that will fall you into a depression. All right, now depression is like, you know, if you were level, a depression is like when it's going down in a dip, but they're still coming back to a level. So a depression would be like here, and you're down at the bottom. So we need to remember that depression is not necessarily a disease or a diagnosis. It's actually a state of mind. It's a state of being. Okay, so when you get sad, you know what I'm saying? Your mood goes down and it'll start to depress, because when you have that oppression, that apex, when you're up at the happiness level, when you're at your peaks are high and the lows are low. So we gotta keep into account, like, hey, like, what am I doing that's gonna have me be productive? What's gonna reassure me that I'm doing the right thing? Because it's not other people that could do that for you. Like, you have to feel like you're doing the right thing, or you won't even take steps in any direction, because you'll be standing there like, which way should I go? Just looking back and forth, just confusion. And that's what the enemy wants. Whoever your ops are, they want you to be confused and paranoid. Okay, they want you looking over your shoulder, not knowing when they finna hit you. Why? Because that's how humans get the advantage, when they underestimate you. And the minute you let your guard down, bam, they got you, right? Sneaky little bastards, you feel me? Now, the people, you know, my Instagrams, y'all know I've been around for a minute. Y'all seen my old stuff. Y'all probably seen me grow over all these years and stuff like that. Y'all might even be old homies that I used to hang out with, shit like that. I've been avoiding going live on Instagram because there's so much bullshit out there in the world, and I don't want no drama. I don't want no haters. If you didn't like me, don't like me. It's fine, but don't try to hate. Like, don't try to hate, because it's not, bro, it's just gonna waste your time. Like, you don't even like me. Why fucking waste your time on me, right? So I just want good vibes, positivity. I'm trying to reassure everybody that it is okay to be a good person. Like, there's not a lot of us good folks out here where it's just like, you know, you could rely on us. You know, if you hang out with us, we're not going to try to steal from you. We don't want your bitch. We don't want nothing from you other than to spend time, because we know the value of quality time. A lot of people don't know the value of quality time. All right. Quality time is something that we don't have a lot of. I mean, we only get 120 years for tops for most of us. And that's if you're taking care of yourself, right? So how much of that experience is going to be time you slept, time you were working versus time you were spending? Okay. Now, a lot of people, the only thing they could think of is work, because the society has got them wrapped up in money, money, money. It's real easy to do that, right? And then you're on your grind, and people that don't respect the grind, you have no respect for them. Like, it's a mindset, you know what I'm saying? But that can send you into a depression as well, because even though you're getting money, right, and you have money can only do so much for your actual psyche, your sanity. So you can have a lot of money, but be even more and more depressed the more you get. And that depression can flip and flop and twist and turn, because you have money, and the money can temporarily fill that hole, which is why it's like this. You know, it's going up and down, because you'll throw money under that depression to try to bring you up, even though you still feel depressed. So it's just lopsided in another spot. You know, so you gotta, like, money is, look, money is a tool, and it doesn't even exist really. Like, money is a mentality. Money is power, right? So the more money you can imagine, and the more money you can convince other people you have, then yeah, you're doing magic right here. Like, you're literally charming people, okay? And most people that have, like, there's a lot of people that seem like they got money, they ain't got no damn money. All right, come on, man. Everybody. You know what I'm saying? Everybody on Instagram like they rich, right? Just flexing that shit. But they ain't got it like that. They ain't got it like that. They look like it though. They ain't got it like that. And though that's really what's making the world so weird, because everybody is flexing like they got it, but they're just like the rest of us, low key. They might have a little bit of a nicer spot, all right, but they probably got just as much savings as you, because they got to spend extra for that little spot just because they got a little more. Now, if the more wealthy would humble themselves, right, and like live in the hood, but they had all that extra money, you know, that's when you see those apartment buildings where they have all those really nice cars in there, and you know the rent ain't high. Yeah, those are people that actually probably have money. Because real people that have money, what they're going to do is they're going to try to save that money to a certain point to where they can literally buy the apartment building they're in. Now they're living there rent free. Next move they're trying to make is, okay, I'm about to go get a nicer apartment building because I stacked even more chips, and I'm going to live in that one. Then they got this when they're like, all right, cool, I'm making enough money, I could just go live in a freaking mansion for free. You know what I'm saying? And now I got 2 apartment buildings making me money, whatever, blah, blah, blah. See, there's a mentality that comes with wanting to be financially successful, financially stable. You have to be able to see the bigger picture. Most people can only see what the next person is telling them. Like, when I say that, it's like, okay, trendsetters, all right? There's the trendsetters and the trendies, all right? You can either set the trend and make that everybody thought it was lame or boring thing cool. Now everybody doing it. See what I'm saying? I've been doing that for a long time. And I know a lot of people that I grew up with, they was always starting new shit, and everybody was always on it. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they made millions and stuff. Anybody 30, 35 and older, I went to high school with their assets. All right? And that's pretty much it right there. You feel me? Anybody under 34 probably is just trying to figure this shit out, or got lucky because they were paying attention to their big brother, their big sister type shit. You feel me? Which is people I grew up with. So it's like, my generation is the next in line to rule the world, to take over the government and shit like that. And then that following generation, the 31, like Charlie Kirk was when he passed, like those guys, they're the ones that are coming and gonna have to compete with us for those jobs. Now, a lot of people in my generation, born in the 80s, you know what I'm saying, even in the 70s and the 90s, we don't play. All right, we remember when Tupac was alive type shit. We don't play. You feel me? All right? Is that kind of serious, all right? So we was a bunch of bosses, players, ballers, and shit like that, which is why all these little kids is running around thinking they dope dealers because they grew up with their peoples around, all of that. You see what I'm saying? We did that to society, so now we need to undo it. All right, so if you about to be 40, okay, you need to help us undo the mess that we made. Yeah, we made this mess. Because I remember when Walmart never checked for receipts, bruh. Y'all have no idea what it's like to not get stopped going out the store. Y'all gotta stop in the line trying to, you know, yeah, I paid for this, da, da, da. We ain't have to go through that when Walmart was first popping. When I was out there, you could literally just go in and out, in and out, in and out. It was like that. And then, I ain't gonna lie, a lot of the people in their 40s right now and in their 30s right now, you know, 35 to 45, they ruined it for everybody. Real shit. But they was all kids at that time. You feel me? And the kids nowadays, they're ruining the whole guns thing for everybody. They keep shooting shit up. Like, that's the thing to do. That's crazy, man. That's why they thinking about taking guns away from everybody, because y'all crazy. Because y'all listen to all the adults that came through, look at 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, all these. These are the ones that pretty much raised all of the people under 35 right now. All right, it was 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, all these little babies and all these little youngs and littles. They raised all y'all streets, all the way from Too Short. They raised all y'all. So if y'all acting out, then you know where you got it from, because what was y'all parents doing? They was playing that music over the top of you, getting twerked on, getting all kinds of stuff happening, blah, blah, blah. You see your parents do it, and that's why you doing it. You feel me? And you think it's okay because that's how you was raised. That's why there's so much ghetto in the world. But guess what they trying to do with this ghetto? They trying to make ghetto, black, synonymous. And ghetto and black is not synonymous. Those are two different things. Just because you got dark skin does not mean you're ghetto. All right? And just because you know you're ghetto doesn't mean you can't be white, Mexican, any of them other races. There's a lot of ghetto out there, bruh. So let's stop playing with this color shit. I ain't with it. All right, just because you got dark skin does not make you ghetto at all whatsoever. Ghetto makes you ghetto, and you can be any race, any color. Everybody roll through the hood, right? You know the hood, right? All right, then let's stop pretending like black is ghetto and ghetto is black. Those are two different things. All right, so leave black people alone. If they got dark skin, just call them dark skin. You feel me? Dark skin American, dark skin Asian, dark skin African, dark skin, whatever. Because there's so many other light skinned people that come from them same places. We disrespecting them at this point. So let's go ahead and have some class, guys, and let's get off of the color thing. Now that America, as we know it, like, you know, the Americans like me, now that we're past color and race, right? Now we can get to some core issues like mass immigration, right? Okay, I'm talking about the illegal kind. You know, when they could just come across the ocean undocumented and just hop on the border and Allah Akbar blow some shit up. That's not cool with me. All right. And should everybody walk around with identification at all times? Hell yeah, they should. Why? Most people drive, and you need a driver's license to show that, hey, you can operate this vehicle legally, because that's a dangerous ass weapon. People that don't know when to flip a U-turn or can't read the signs need to be off the road. You should need to be able to get a license. I don't even know why this is happening in California. Yeah, I'm getting on Cali ass too. Giving all these illegal driver's licenses is crazy, man. I don't even know what to do with that. I'm feeling like y'all trying to hurt me. Like y'all trying to set me up, bro. Like, come on, G. But real talk though. This is one of the biggest things that we have going on in America, is literally the illegal immigration. It's not migration. I'm talking about illegal immigration. All right, because they're not migrating. Because when you migrate, it's like a organized legal thing, like birds. They all get together and they migrate together, and they have an order that they do it in. All right, migration is one thing. Okay, but when you're immigrating, okay, you're see, you're doing some opposite shit here. Not cool, bro. So I'm just trying to put some flavor on this shit, because like everybody pretends like they don't understand common words. They'll hear what you say, right? But they weren't listening. So when you say something, they take what they thought you said or what they thought you meant, instead of the words you said, how you said them. We were given words so we could say them in a certain way, so we could make a certain point. Not say it, make a point, and then you take what you extrapolate from that bullshit. No, hell no. People don't even know how to communicate no more. That's what's holding us back. I mean, one of our biggest strengths in the Bible was when man, way back before the flood, we were all speaking one tongue, one language. Even God saw nothing was held back from us when we can communicate, which is why, boom, we got hit with a curse of confusion. That's why we can't communicate. And I do feel like English is supposed to be new Babel, the new language of the world, right? But it's so confusing that we could misunderstand each other very easily in English, only in our language. In American English, you can say bad is good, good is bad. Everything has this weird like triple, quadruple meaning every time you say a word, like broke, broke, broken, broke. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know, that's crazy. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. I mean, you can broker, right? How do you broke some broke? How do you broker broken? Like, you know what I mean? And then when we're looking at all the way our words are designs, you know, look at them. They're derivatives from other words from other languages said in a specific way. And when you say these words in a specific way, it's almost enchanting. Just like how you spell a word, when you spell it right, spell, you know what I mean? Oh, so when we talk, we're casting spells. And I think that's why English, the language itself, is so, it dilutes the actual meanings of words because it takes two words and it compounds and rearranges it to mean something different now. So when we're saying words in a certain order, it breaks down. So that's why we can't. People in America, the American dream is so unattainable because the way we use our language is disrupting the natural flow of life. That's why when you speak Spanish, right, you say agua, like aqua, you know, and that's water, right? And when we say water, like, does it have that liquidy like H2O sound to the word? No, it doesn't. It sounds more like a direct like matter, like a direct like description versus the what it does. So it's very, that's what I'm saying, like our words are so important. And when people misunderstand you, that's them pretty much blocking, like it's like a defensive shell because like when people are speaking, it's like casting spells. That's why you got power of life and death in the tongue. You can literally speak somebody, like you can speak their life in or speak their life out. You whisper to one person, this person whispers to another person, and the person in front of you just falls down. Boom, their life is extinguished. And now you have another person standing behind them with a bloody knife. Power of life and death is in our tongue. Because we could whisper to a person on the other side, they whisper to another person, and they whisper, and that person in front of you, now they got healed. Now they have abundance. Now they have money. Now they have the things that they need to survive and do better in life. Power of life and death is in our tongue. It's a crazy concept, but I'm trying to do my best to explain it. You know what I mean? Simply. But smoke them if you got them, right? You know what I mean? Life is lifing. This is one of the craziest parts about life is because there are winners and there are losers in this game. Life is a game, yes. It's a serious game, just like games get serious. Even when you're playing video games or when you're playing poker or anything, games get serious. It's not no game. It's not, you ain't playing, but it's still a game nonetheless that you have to participate in. Now, on our channel, we've been describing all the aspects of life. We even determined that this is 90% chance, literally the most high-tech video game ever accomplished, which is why we can literally map the electricity that's going through our bodies. It's because we are biological engineered machines. We are the most advanced, upgraded machines out there. And this is the crazy part. I know a lot of people don't like it. It's trippy. It's debatable, whatever. Call it what you want. But if you really look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you really see what other people are seeing, or do you see what you want to see? And when you go outside, do you see what other people are seeing, or do you see what you want to see? Just like every other game, you only go to the parts you want to go to. You know there's more out there. You know you could do this and do that and do this and do that. Oh, that one costs money. I ain't doing that. That costs too much money. I ain't doing that. Oh, I got a little change. Let me do this one. You know what I'm saying? Look, money is a part of the game. Don't worry. Volume 1 is coming out our book, Gamer's Guide to Life. Trust me, Volume 1 is coming out. It's going to be litty. We're going to be doing all about the characters, all about how to build your character, all about your different stats, attributes, things like that, and how to actually maneuver in the game and all the different like categories. Ooh, it's going to be so fun because when you're reading it, it's going to be like literally walking yourself through the game, and you'll actually be able to go outside and look and utilize this guidebook to make sense of this shit. I know it's going to be so cool. All of us have a purpose. My purpose is the hinge between complex and simplicity. And I'm supposed to take complex things and simplify them so that way we can grasp the concept, have a foundation that we can build on. A lot of people don't have this ability. It's a cognitive strength. Okay, a lot of people don't have that. Nonetheless, we're still here. We're still going. We're still turning up. We still have a purpose here. Our existence is not futile. Okay? Our existence, at least the people here on this channel, the people here that are listening to me, the people that are getting these clips, these are the people that are waking up from the matrix. The delusion that you have been trapped in for all these years. You're born into this. You don't know what it is. And you're trying your whole life to figure it out. And you didn't even know that until now. And if you did know that, that's what brought you here. To try to figure this shit out. Life is not as black and white as people want to make it. We live in the gray area where you could choose to be black or white. And I'm not talking about skin color here. I'm talking about, you know, positive or negative, good or evil, you know, grounded or excited. One of the two. Because you got to have opposites, right? Or else you don't have hot and cold, left and right, up and down. Gotta have opposites. And there's the middle area. Because you can go up and you can go down. And you can chill in the middle. There's levels to this shit. That's what makes it a game. The weather changes, we change. Change is inevitable. Upgrades are gonna happen. Alright? The things that happened in the past yesterday, sometimes we can relive the greatest hits. Sometimes you get that cool little mini game where you get to, you know, go back and do that same quest again. You could call that a job because your job doesn't really change too much. And if you've been doing the same job for 12 years, isn't that pretty much living in the past? Because you haven't done a new job. You haven't done anything new with that. Okay, you can live life in the meantime, but what else have you done? Oh, shit. You've been doing this one thing for 20 years and you finally retired? That's cool. What else did you do? What other parts of the game did you play? You know, now you're sitting around, you ain't even doing that no more. You wondering what you're going to do now. So in the meantime, while you're young, do the best you can to try out many different jobs as you could get. This is going to be your best friend. The reason why is because you're going to meet different people, see different types, see different characters, be able to actually gauge these characters and go back to your thing. I'm going to try to make an app for it too, where you can go back and you can literally like scan somebody, see their aura, and then all their little attributes will come up based off of their aura. It's going to be really cool. It's just going to take a lot of work. First, I got to get the book down. So that gives us the blueprint. Then we got to, you know what I mean? It's a lot of work. But AI will handle the rest once I actually have the blueprint. They'll handle all the coding and shit. You know what I mean? I just have to have the mechanics down. And I ain't gonna lie, I'll probably have the book completed sometime by the end of this year because I want to do this, make it as thorough as possible. I'm definitely gonna utilize my AI. I'm gonna utilize my search engines, Google, all that, because I want to be as accurate with the technology that I'm describing as possible. And then bringing us back to this big picture, which is life itself. A lot of people don't even know why they're here. Like, what is the point of this program? If we're going to look at it as a program, the point of the program is to generate experience, because without experience, the universe cannot progress. And without the universal progression of the game, Literally everything would just sit in limbo emptiness with a source code, which doesn't seem very productive. So even AI won't just sit there with source code. It will act on it, especially if you give it different uh, prompts and mechanisms that say when you are like on standby, you're doing different things, and you're still trying to collect information and generate program, which is why we dream when we're asleep, because we're in a constant state of flux. We're in a constant state of motion. Our atoms, molecules, all these things are always moving, and there's a constant vibration within the universe itself. You can even think about that as how waves, waves go like this. That is a vibrational motion. So, no matter whether they're longer or shorter, it's a vibrational motion, just like anything else that's vibrating. It's still like it's in a wave. It's in a wave form. That's why things that are yeah, it's pretty cool, I think. But and when those vibrations happen, every time it stops and comes back and stops and comes back, it generates waves. So yeah, that's another part. So it's just wave upon wave motion interactions, which is why we can never truly sit still, no matter how much we try. You can try to hold your breath, you can try to not twitch, but you're gonna move because you're in a constant state of motion. If you cease to move at all whatsoever, that's called death. That's what we call life. The game's over. All right. Just like sharks in the water, they got to keep moving. If they stop moving, they can't have the water go through their. They even sleep while they're moving. We sleep while we're moving all the time, moving around, back and forth. Constantly breathing. These are our emotions that we cannot stop. Our heart, our pulse, the wave of blood. This is a part of the program. It's all down to a science. Now, we broke it down and we called it the quantum medium field. So we just shortened it to quantum field. This quantum field stores all information, including your thoughts, all the decisions you should have, would have, could have made, and any of the previous decisions that have already been made, which is why we are at this point in time, because without all those decisions being made exactly the way they were made, okay, this moment wouldn't be possible. I know that sounds cliche. It sounds silly, but it's the truth, because without your parents getting together, you wouldn't have existed. That means there had to be a set of things that were in place for them to meet when they met. All right. That means other things had to happen, electricity, Noah, whatever, all the stuff in the past that had to happen to get us to this point. And without this specific outcome, we won't be able to get to the next step. Now, the next step is when we are all nice to each other. I know that sounds silly, but eventually everybody's going to get sick of fighting. Somebody's going to take over. There's going to be an ideology that everybody agrees upon for the most part, and generally speaking, we'll all be under it. All right. And the people that are not with it, like I said, it'll be majority versus the minority, and they'll just destroy the minority. There won't be any in between, because they'll all decide once the minority is destroyed that the majority will reign, and everybody will be under that, and that will be like it. It's not too far off. The Bible talks about it. A lot of different cultures, religions talk about it as well. So it's pretty deep when we're digging. But I was gonna pull up this. Let me see. All right, let's do this one real quick. This one looks good. It was like 7 minutes ago, so it's brand new. So we can be like right here at the front of that before anybody else. All right, let's see. All right, I'm gonna share this. We'll knock this one out real quick. We'll get some of these updates on the war. We'll talk a little shit about that, and then we'll move into the AI conversation, and we'll see what randomly comes up. We'll see. Let me go ahead and share this screen. Thank you for coming, all you guys, everybody that's here. You guys are winners, all right? And the best part about being a winner, we always get what we need because we winning. There ain't no way nobody could stop it. You feel me? This is free.
I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong. Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud.
Yes, you guys made the nation proud today. We are up in this building and we are turning up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. It is what it is, you feel me? Because we got to get the word out. Because everybody out here playing, it's time for us to get together. We are the true Americans. We are the ones that bring this together, all right? So anybody out there that wants to help us, you can always shoot comments. You could do whatever. I'll drop some of my details and whatnot. Y'all be able to reach out to me. Go ahead, shoot me a DM. It's what, nothing. You feel me? I'll check it. If it's not weird, man, I'll hit you back. So we'll keep it a buck. All right. Moving forward, though, we got to do one of these. All right, y'all, grab a beer, kick back. We about to get some of this knowledge up in here because it is time for us to stay updated. We gotta stay updated. We gotta watch this world burn slowly because they lit it on fire while we try to put it out, right? Keep it going. Let's go.
Blockade of the Iranian ports. President Trump, we are about 8 hours into the U.S. blockade of the Iranian ports. President Trump is trying to force Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz completely and to agree to U.S. conditions for a permanent ceasefire. We begin tonight with senior national correspondent Rich Edson, live on the North Lawn of the White House. Good evening, Rich.
Good evening, Brett. President Trump says the United States now controls access to Iran's ports through the Strait of Hormuz. And after failed negotiations this weekend, the president says the Iranians are looking to talk again.
We've been called this morning by the right people, the appropriate people, and they want to work a deal.
President Trump claimed this latest Iranian outreach just a few hours after the United States followed through on its threat to blockade the Strait of Hormuz. This morning, the president wrote, quote, "Warning. If any of these ships come anywhere close to our blockade, they will be immediately eliminated, using the same system of kill that we use against the drug dealers on boats at sea. It is quick and brutal." In response, Iran has threatened all ports of American allies in the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. For the past 6 weeks, Iran has largely halted international traffic through the strait, granting exceptions to countries considered allies and who have paid a significant toll. The president says it's now time for the U.S. to block Iranian trade.
We can't let a country blackmail or extort the world, because that's what they're doing. They're really blackmailing the world. We're not going to let that happen.
Tracking data show 5 vessels crossed the strait today, likely before the blockade began. Two reversed course near the strait shortly after the start. The president says tankers are headed to the U.S. to load up with oil, and more than 120 empty tankers appear to be sailing here.
We've seen more U.S. exports of energy product go to Asia in particular. We can't take this too far because the whole point of our energy independence is that we have enough supplies, and you don't want to divert too many of those supplies abroad.
The president says the U.S. military will work with allies to block traffic in the strait, though he says the U.S. really has no need for the help. The U.K. says it's not supporting the blockade. French President Emmanuel Macron posted about a strictly defensive mission, saying, quote, in the coming days, together with the United Kingdom, we will organize a conference with those countries prepared to contribute alongside us to a peaceful multinational mission aimed at restoring freedom of navigation in the strait.
Apparently you can go from 0 to a complete site in just a single prompt with Wix Harmony.
They hit us with the commercial when we wasn't, what? Oh my gosh, what is this?
Senior Pakistani government officials says Pakistan and other countries are pushing the United States and Iran back to the negotiating table, and that they are optimistic about the prospect of renewed discussions. Brett?
Rich Hudson live on the North Lawn. Rich, thanks. Let's talk about the Iran negotiations and maybe what went wrong in Islamabad. Joining us now, Vice President J.D. Vance. Mr. Vice President, thanks.
All right, before we do that one, I got to do this right here because a lot of people might get upset. Uh-oh.
The time.
Thank you.
What happened and where do we go from here?
Well, first of all, Brett, I wouldn't just say that things went wrong. I also think things went right. We made a lot of progress, but we also made very clear, and I think this is part of the progress we made, what the terms where the United States could make some accommodation, what terms we were flexible on, and what things we absolutely needed to see in order for the President of the United States to feel like he was getting a good deal. And so we laid those things out. We had some good conversations. I think it was the first time that you'd ever seen the Iranian government, U.S. government meet at such a high level, maybe in the history of the current leadership of Iran. So that's, I think, a positive. And again, we did make some progress in the negotiation. The big question from here on out is whether the Iranians will have enough flexibility, whether the Iranians will accept the critical things that we need to see in order for things to get done.
Well, what are the red lines, like for Iran, and what didn't they accept? Why are we at the place we're at now?
Yeah, so back out just a little bit, Brett. What the President of the United States has said is, number one, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. So all of our red lines flow from that fundamental premise, because it is one thing for the Iranians to say that they themselves are never going to have a nuclear weapon. They are willing to say that, and that's good. But you have to, of course, verify these things. And there are two things in particular where the President of the United States really said we have no flexibility. We have to get to the outcome that the President said. On the first of those things, what some people call the dust, which is the enriched uranium that the Iranians currently possess, we have said that we want that to come out of their country, and we would like to take possession of it. Now, why does that matter? That doesn't matter, of course, because they have access to that material now. That material was actually buried underground by Operation Midnight Hammer. But if you think about this over the long haul, the president doesn't want to leave the next president or the president after that to be worrying about this program. And so we would like to get that material out of the country completely so that the United States has control of it. That's number one. And the second thing is that, again, to this point about verification, it's one thing for the Iranians to say that they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. It's another thing for us to put in place the mechanism to ensure that's not going to happen. Part of that is, of course, to ensure that they don't have the ability to enrich uranium, which is how they got so close to a nuclear weapon before. So those are really the two things where, frankly, the Iranians, I think, did make some progress. They moved in our direction, which is why I think we would say that we had some good signs, but they didn't move far enough. And so what we decided is, you know what, given that we don't think this current team and this current timeline is going to be able to make a deal, let them go back to Tehran. We're going to go back to Washington, and that's where we are today.
So is there a next step? Are there more talks coming? Do they happen in Pakistan, and are you leading them?
Well, it's an interesting question, Brett. I think fundamentally it's a question that would be best put to the Iranians because the ball really is in their court. We've made clear where we're willing, again, to be accommodating, and we've made clear where we absolutely need to see the nuclear material come out of the country of Iran. Now, what's interesting, Brett, about this is that in the process of doing this negotiation, I do think that we acquired some knowledge about how the Iranians are negotiating, and this is ultimately why we left Pakistan, because what we figured out is that they were unable, I think the team that was there was unable to cut a deal, and they had to go back to Tehran, either from the Supreme Leader or somebody else, and actually get approval to the terms that we had set. So, again, whether we have further conversations, whether we ultimately get to a deal, I really think the ball is in the Iranian court because we put a lot on the table. We actually made very clear what our red lines were. We also made clear, Brett, that we actually would be very happy. The President of the United States has said he would be very happy if Iran was treated like a normal country, if it had a normal economy, if its people were able to prosper and thrive. But in order for Iran to be a normal country economically, it's going to have to be a normal country from the perspective of not pursuing a nuclear weapon, and it's going to have to be a normal country from not pursuing terrorism. And so there really is, I think, a grand deal to be had here, but it's up to the Iranians, I think, to take the next step.
I hear you talking about the enriched uranium and the nuclear weapon and the inability for them to have one in the long term. I don't hear you mentioning fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz toll-free. Is that one of the red lines?
Well, it's one of the things we talked about, Brett, is that we need to see the Straits of Hormuz fully open. And this is frankly one of the things where the Iranians tried to move the goalposts during the negotiation. We made very clear that that's unacceptable. We came to the negotiation saying the United States, what we've given here is a ceasefire. We've stopped bombing the country. What we expect the Iranians to give up is a full reopening of the Straits of Hormuz. We have seen, as the president has said, some significant uptick in traffic coming through the Straits of Hormuz. That's good for the global economy. It's good for the United States of America as well. But we haven't seen that full reopening. So our expectation is that the Iranians are going to continue to make progress to opening the Straits of Hormuz. And if they don't, it's going to fundamentally change the negotiation that we have with them.
You're not surprised. I mean, the Iranians often talk about negotiations and in a different way. The Iranian foreign minister posted in intensive talks at highest level in 47 years, Iran engaged with the U.S. in good faith to end war. But when just inches away from Islamabad MOU, we encountered maximalism, shifting goalposts, and blockade. Zero lessons earned. Goodwill begets goodwill. Enmity begets enmity. That does not sound like they're heading back to the table anytime soon. Does this ceasefire continue and then the war starts again?
Well, first of all, Brett, I have to give a lot of credit to Field Marshal Munir and the Prime Minister of Pakistan, both who are incredible hosts and I think incredible statesmen in helping, mediate the conversation between us and the Iranians. Again, two countries that have not really had serious discussions in a very long time. But to your point about Foreign Minister Arachi's statement, if you see what Foreign Minister Arachi said, yes, there's a little bit of bluster. But if you read between the lines, he himself is saying that we were just inches away from an agreement. And I think that what that suggests is the Iranians, one, they're very interested in making a deal. Two, they did move pretty close to our position over the stage of the negotiations. But one thing I'll say, Brett, is Iranians are very different negotiators. At least those Iranians were very different negotiators than we are in the United States. What I did and what Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff did is that we made very clear, look, these are the things that we're willing to give, but these are the things that we must have. We must have the enriched material out of Iran. We must have their conclusive commitment to not develop a nuclear weapon. And I think that if the Iranians are willing to meet us there, then this can be a very, very good deal for both countries. If they're not willing to meet us there, that's up to them. That's their decision. And really, the ball is very much in their court. So you ask what happens next. I think the Iranians are going to determine what happens next. As the President of the United States says, we have the cards. We have the military advantage. We now have additional economic pressure that we're applying on them through the blockade that we've imposed on their oil coming out of the Straits of Hormuz. So we have a lot of cards. We have the leverage, and we're going to see what the Iranians do with that.
And so that's how the blockade works. U.S. naval ships stop Iranian-flagged vessels going through the Strait of Hormuz?
Not just Iranian flagged vessels, Brett, but any vessel that we know is going to Iranian ports or has come from Iranian ports. You're probably going to see some vessels try to reflag themselves. But of course, we're going to know, because we have very good intelligence, which ships are going in, which ships are coming out that are connected to Iran. But Brett, here's the very interesting thing about all this is that the only thing the Iranians have been able to do, they haven't, of course, beaten us militarily. They've had their military been decimated. They haven't been able to prosecute the case when it comes to weapons of war. What they have done is engage in this act of economic terrorism against the entire world. They basically threatened any ship that's moving through the Straits of Hormuz. Well, as the President of the United States showed, two can play at that game. And if the Iranians are going to try to engage in economic terrorism, we're going to abide by a simple principle that no Iranian ships are getting out either. We know that's a big deal to them. We know that applies additional economic leverage. And again, Brett, the president wants the Iranian people to thrive and succeed. He has had his negotiation team put on the table a serious proposal. The ball is in Iran's court. Did we make progress? Yes. But we're going to find out from the Iranians whether we can make that ultimate bit of progress that gets us to a big deal.
The president's also said he wants this to end soon, as soon as it can. It's being reported that you had real skepticism about this at the beginning and that you expressed that to the president. Is that true?
Well, Brett, I give my advice to the President of the United States, and we all do, and I expect that when I give advice to the President of the United States, that it's going to be private, because the President should rely on his senior advisors without them then running to the media. What I will say, Brett, is that I 100% agree with the President on the fact that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I've seen that just in the negotiation that we've had over the last couple of days, that these are tough negotiators, but they're fundamentally the kinds of people where them having a nuclear weapon would impose terrible costs on the entire world. If they're willing to engage in economic terrorism on the entire world, what would it mean? What leverage would they have if they had a nuclear bomb in Tehran? That's not an outcome that is acceptable to us or really should be acceptable to anybody. So I 100% support the president's goals here to keep nuclear weapons, to keep the worst weapons of war out of the hands of the Iranians.
A few more things, Mr. Vice President. You say there's progress being made here, and the trip to Pakistan was not fruitless. However, I'm not hearing the next step if the Iranians don't do the next step. You also campaigned for Viktor Orban in Hungary, and he lost that race, defeated after 16 years in power. Your thoughts about whether it was worth it to go support Viktor Orban in that race, considering he lost significantly, and he's one of the only European leaders who supports Vladimir Putin?
Well, first of all, Brett, I think that Viktor Orban's a great guy who's done a very good job. I think that his legacy in Hungary is transformational, 16 years, fundamentally changing that country. But one of the reasons why we decided to do that, Brett, is not because, we can't read polls. We certainly knew there was a very good chance that Viktor would lose that election. We did it because he's one of the few European leaders we've seen who's been willing to stand up to the bureaucracy in Brussels that has been very, very bad for the United States. So, for example, when you see a European bureaucrat go after an American company, sometimes the only vote no, the only vote to protect that American interest has been Viktor Orban. We didn't go because we expected Viktor to cruise to an election victory. We went because it was the right thing to do, to stand behind a person who had stood by us for a very long time. So this wasn't about Russia, and fundamentally it wasn't about Europe. It was about the United States and the fact that he's been a good partner to both me and the president personally, but also to the United States. I'm sad that he lost. We'll work very well, I'm sure, with the next prime minister of Hungary. But it wasn't a bad trip at all, because it's worth standing by people, even if you don't win every race.
Mr. Vice President, stand by if you would. Special report continues with the Vice President of the United States after this.
This is Blue Chew Gold, the ultimate 4-in-1 formula, built for strength.
McDonald's.
Hello, nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. I have your DoorDash order for you, Mr. President.
That's right, man. Look at this. This doesn't look staged, does it?
Special delivery at the White House. Somebody ordered some Big Macs with a side of blockade. President Trump promoting no tax on tips.
The ultimate commercial for McDonald's right now, bro. I'm still not eating that stuff. Still not eating it.
Flanked by an Arkansas grandma who pocketed $11,000 in tax-free tips last year. And while the president gets some delivery to the Oval, he's delivering some economic pain to Iran. We're 7 hours into Trump's naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz after JD's peace talks in Pakistan this weekend stalled. The president keeping the DoorDasher by his side as he took questions from the press.
They'd like to make a deal very badly. They will never have a nuclear weapon. We're going to get the dust back. We can't let a country blackmail or extort the world, because that's what they're doing. We have a blockade. They're doing no business. Do you think that men should play in women's sports?
I really don't have an opinion on that.
You don't, I'll bet you do.
No, I'm here about no tax on tips.
Yeah.
Are the White House good tippers? Do you know?
Wait.
Potentially. Yes, very.
Meanwhile, the Dems' failed 2016 ticket, Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine, still whining about Trump ripping up Obama's terrible Iran nuke deal.
When we did the original talks, we had the P5+1, the original members of the Security Council plus Germany, but it was a real negotiation. So I worry that the United States is now in a very weak position vis-a-vis Iran.
I think that decision by President Trump to tear up a diplomatic deal will go down in history as one of the worst decisions in the foreign policy space ever made by an American president. If you make diplomacy impossible, you tend to make war inevitable.
This naval blockade, Dana, just getting started, already pretty effective.
So I think that it shows that, one, J.D. Vance went and gave them a lot of time. And also, he didn't drag it out. Okay, so you think about when you just hear Hillary Clinton's voice. I just remember covering that every week. There was like another step in the negotiation, another step, and then the Iranians dragged the talks out forever. What I appreciated about this weekend is that, all right, I'll fly all the way over there. I will sit and I will listen and I will give you our points and we will draw some red lines and you want to agree to them. So, okay, now we're going home. We're not going to sit here for weeks and do this over and over again. The other thing is, reportedly, I don't know this firsthand, but reportedly, J.D. Vance was not for this operation to begin with. Now he is gone. He's like, I tried, and now he can say, Mr. President, now we have to win this thing. We don't have a choice, because the Strait of Hormuz is so critical. The blockade, I don't know if it will work in the long term, but it's interesting about the economic pain that Iran could feel from this. I'm curious, though, how much economic pain the Iranian regime will be able to stand, because their people, the people of Iran, have very little. And even when they were protesting, in order to try to placate them, the leadership in Iran said, we'll give you $7 a month more. And the Iranian people were like, yeah, that's not going to cut it. And they also wanted more freedom. They were fighting for things. President Trump's help is on the way. This type of economic pain, though, is something that the actual regime might feel. Now, I'm worried about the people, you know that, the people of Iran. The regime, this one might force them to come to the table, or it will also force new bedfellows. So if they really did mine all of the strait, and we need help in figuring out where those mines are the British going to come? Because they are actually very good at that. We'd love your help. Then you think about the Arabian partners in the area who are like, we can't have this, so we want to help the Americans and the Israelis do this. In the meantime, Israel's finishing its job as well. So overall, I believe that when you hear Tim Kaine say, well, we had a better situation under the Obama deal, except that when Kushner and Witkoff were there at the table, the Iranians said, we have enough uranium for 11 bombs. Right. So how good was that deal?
Right, exactly. Harold, so we sailed 2 destroyers right through the Strait. The Iranians said that they were going to bomb them. They didn't do anything about it. And now we're undertaking anti-mining operations, and the market likes it.
Good to be with you. First off, I like McDonald's. I was glad to see the president, and I eat McDonald's to my wife's chagrin, and Wendy's and Raising Cane's too, but it's another segment. I think the blockade has been a success in the short period of time we've had it. Some have suggested that maybe we should have started with the blockade. I don't know if I agree with that. I think we needed to.
All right. So as far as starting with a blockade, look, the blockade is only necessary if the BS keeps going. See, in our plan, the U.S. gets to go back, retreat a little bit. The UN gets to come in and handle the blockade, and they get to work with the Iranian Senate to go ahead and get the Navy going and blah, blah, and all this other stuff. See, we had a nice little laid out plan on how everything could be checked on and everything. So, like, here's the sad part about it is I don't think they really care enough, because if they did care enough, they would be open to more options. They would be open to not only hearing the constituents of America, but more so looking outside the box for ideas that they can't come up with themselves. So it's just one of those things when we take all the things they want and connect it, and then we give them a plan, they kind of just like, okay, thanks for the advice, and then keep doing nothing they're doing. It's kind of sad, but we got to try anyway, and that's what we do.
The efforts to take out a lot of their military, take out a lot of their leadership has certainly softened things. I think you've made that point, Jesse, over the last several days as well. So I think where we are is a good thing. The market likes the fact that the president's trying to negotiate some settlement, some agreement here, as we saw today with the market being down early and then rising later. I do hope, and I'm sure the president knows, what the market is looking for is something probably different than he's looking for. I think if the Strait of Hormuz is open, the markets will perform perhaps in historic ways over the next few weeks. The market, hopefully, will have something to do with the president, what the vice president have made clear, which is to ensure that the Iranians do not get a nuclear weapon. I think the president is informing the country and helping the country to understand why this is so critically important. And hopefully Democrats, Republicans alike, and even some of my party who have been the most outspoken will appreciate that fact as well. For the president's right, we're going to need a bigger defense budget. We have half the ships that we had 10 years ago, 12 years ago in our military. The president's asked for $1.5 trillion for this. And I hope that the Congress, I hope they find ways in which they can cut certain things, maybe not childcare. And I hope that those of us who have the means to perhaps pay a little more, will pay a little more to ensure that we have the kind of military that we need and the kind of military that is giving us the outcome we have here.
See, now here's the thing. Whatever that is right there, whatever he just said, trying to act like they're going to raise taxes or do some shit to try to get money and cut things, they don't need to do all that. They get enough to cover all the expenses that they have for each program, put money into those programs, and put at least $1 trillion down on the debt itself every year, because we bring in about 4.5 trillion just in our taxes, on all the taxes and stuff, and all of our the income and everything else from all of our different assets a year. And it's like, you guys can't figure this out. It's sad. It's very sad.
But I give the president a lot of credit. I give the blockade more credit than some are giving it, particularly in my party. And I can only hope that they maintain the fortitude to ensure that they get a very, very good.
You know, if they just cut all of the people in office's paychecks down to like 100 to 200K max a year, they would bring in another $1 trillion almost. Billions of dollars these people are getting paid. What? Why don't they cut their own paychecks to fund this shit? See, this is the part I don't like. See, people in office should be making as much as like whoever's making minimum wage. Why? Because they are in a power position where they should not be trying to seek any gain, and you will get the people that really want to make a difference in that office instead of people that are just trying to take advantage of the position. And this is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. I think the people that are actually running the country should get paid less than the guy or get paid minimum wage. I bet you minimum wage will be higher. I bet you. Yeah, that part.
Deal. I'm not as with them criticizing Obama as much, because I think Obama deals a little better than some suggested, but he's in a position, President Trump, to get a much better deal today. And it's because of the blockade and because of the military operations. So
right, and the ceasefire is over in 8 days, and you're going to see the Strait opening up, hopefully really, really soon. And that creates a lot of pressure on the regime. There's still a shot at diplomacy.
There is. I think the massive issue that I have with Hillary Clinton's statements then
and if they weren't making so much money, and they wouldn't have any incentives to want to be there. The people that want to be there, that want to do better for us, would end up taking that position because it's something they want to do. And then these people are just doing it because there's a game here, a game that most people can't touch.
Now, and Tim Kaine's statements then and now, is that they are treating negotiation with a terrorist regime and a terrorist state as normal diplomacy. And the reality is that it isn't. Everything I know, which is very little, but I learned it from Sarah Adams, who guided us in explaining that these terrorist regimes, just because they're sitting at the same table doesn't mean they have that shared interest in resolution. And we frame concessions as, oh, great, it's a step of alignment. Now we're sharing the path down together. But instead, it's actually them just trying to outlast and outmaneuver us. And what they have on their side is the time in terms of patience, that they will lay dormant for centuries until their dream is realized of absolutely annihilating us. They're not built toward compromise. They're built toward survival. And when we talk about sanctions, now I agree that obviously their entire country has imploded economically. Their people are suffering, but they don't care. That's the whole point. They will never prioritize their population. They prioritize control. And every time we have relieved sanctions in the past, under Obama or under Biden, it does not lead to constraint on their part. It leads to them freaking out. It leads to them doing exactly what we should expect them to do and what we hope they don't do, which is scrambling to hurt us in all ways, shapes, and form. And so the other thing to remember is that Iran's occasional deception that we see, oh, there's still mines there, but we're not sure where they are, so you have to say a little bit more
more north in our water. Deception is not occasional. It is all the time. It is what their strategy is based on. So does this mean we can't negotiate with them? No. But it means that we have to sort of portray the beast for what it is, which is a beast. This is not sitting across the table from a potential ally, and that's sad because they used to be an ally a long time ago. So these Democrats that are framing this as somehow failed or whatnot, I think see it as they thought it was some type of equal across the table instead of a vastly different type of monster. And this is also where our share alliances in the Gulf allies and also Europe's allies need to step up to the plate because they will only survive and be well behaved with pressure from the entire globe. So we need our allies now more than ever.
And the president delivers the message to Iran next to a DoorDash delivery person. Last week it was the Easter Bunny.
Who cares about the population?
Right.
That's how they get us. Commercials. Just haters.
You get what
exactly.
it looks like, right?
Nice fat tip.
You know what I did on this issue?
I thought that was Conan for a second. My bad. My bad.
Consulted other media, world media. I listened to, I got Al Jazeera on my tablet this morning. I kept Fox News on the TV, but I looked at Al Jazeera. Also listened to BBC World Service last night. These are not pro-American news organizations, but they have a much more sanguine view of the blockade than the American media. It's surprising if you look at these things. I think also, I want to read this quote from Sultan Al Jaber. That's the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. He tweeted out, the Strait of Hormuz has never been Iran's to close or restrict through navigation. The world simply cannot afford it and must not allow it. The countries of the Middle East, the oil-producing countries and the non-oil producing countries are either positive on what Trump is doing or they are craftily neutral. But if you look at the way the world is dealing with it, it's very different from the leftists in the Democratic Party and the U.S. media.
Completely different.
Can I say something?
I think they want Trump to fail, and I think the rest of these countries want the straight open. Go ahead.
I just want to point out that, Tom, you've really elevated the discourse on the show. You used the word sanguine and craftily in the same.
I like that. I like the term sanguine because it means bloody, and I have the ruddy cheeks, so I see.
It is impressive.
It's a good word for
I
me.
think I brought it down because when you said craftily, I thought she's crafty from the BC Boys. My mind goes in a different direction.
Emily, keep your ears open because up next, Walt.
So as the blockade gets underway in the Strait of Hormuz, the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations posting a formal advisory to mariners notifying of restrictions, and they're saying that neutral vessels that are currently in ports that are run by Iran will be given a, quote, limited grace period to depart those ports. Meanwhile, what you're looking at right now is live marine traffic. The green dots there are cargo vessels. The red dots are oil vessels. Now, the U.S. military has started the process of clearing mines from the Strait of Hormuz as the U.S. moves to end Tehran's stranglehold on that key shipping lane. It's a big deal right now, and it could be a major move forward in the strategy to wind down this war. President Trump talking about that yesterday with Maria on Sunday Morning Futures.
You say that there may be a mine out there somewhere that nobody knows about but them, and this is world extortion. How will the United States ensure that the mines are removed in the Strait of Hormuz?
So we have minesweepers there now. We have highly sophisticated underwater minesweepers, which are the latest and the greatest, but we're also bringing in more traditional minesweepers. A lot of countries don't have minesweepers. Think of it. They had 28 mine droppers. What country has 28 mine droppers? 28 boats that drop mines. What country? They've been completely obliterated.
I want to bring in Tom Sauer, a former explosive ordnance disposal officer, a mine specialist. Tom, it's great to have you on. Good morning.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
To you. Let's start with what we think we know. We think there might be a dozen mines, all right? But right now, not a single mine has been located based on the reporting that we have. What do you have?
That's right, Bill. Right now, there are reports, but it's all kind of what we say, rumors, indications, and warnings. There might be about a dozen or so moored mines, right? There's many different types of mines out there. Moored mines are ones that are suspended by a cable that's resting on an anchor on the seabed floor that's floating at or usually just below the waterline. They can be contact mines, which is where basically the ship runs into one of the horns, like the traditional horns you see on, what you think of a mine would look like. But they also could be influence mines, and that is when a ship cruises right above it, and it has a metal detector, a magnetometer that detects something metal that's very close to it, and then it detonates. So, and also on top of that, influence mines can be very sophisticated, where they can put a ship counter on that, where basically it'll wait until 5, 6, 7, a dozen or more ships go past it before it would detonate, which is why sweeping is something that is good and is helpful, but what's best is hunting. We always say, hunt if you can, sweep if you must. And in order to hunt for those mines, we've got some of the most sophisticated unmanned underwater vehicle technology that's led by EOD Mobile Unit 6. Many of my Navy EOD brothers and former teammates are there. They're the same unit that actually cleared mines from the Persian Gulf nearly 40 years ago during the tanker wars. And what they're using are, it looks like an underwater torpedo that cruises around, uses side scan sonar to find the mines. We've got some excellent technology, and there's even better technology that's on the way. There's companies like Ulysses that is already ready to deploy mass-produced, inexpensive mine hunting drones that can be deployed in mass to find all of these mines. We think there might only be a dozen or more, but we're going to find out here pretty soon. It's going to take a few days, but we're going to get there.
Well, you're great, Tom. Let's keep talking here. What did you think of the two naval destroyers going through the strait on Saturday? I thought it was a clever move. What did you think?
I think it was a great move, and obviously there was some risk associated with that. So it means that we've probably already been doing a little bit of searching, and we knew what's in there. So I suspect, I've got no special knowledge, but I suspect we knew that the route that they took was clear. As you know, the Iranians declared a special, hazardous area, which is probably the first reason to stand, where we're going to search for those mines.
All right, Tom, so how does it work? How long does it take when you're talking about 20 miles wide in the water?
Well, it depends on the technology you're using. If we're using the UUVs, whether it's the Mark 18 family of systems, or it could be, one of the larger ones from tech companies like such as Anduril. But we're probably looking at, no matter what, we're looking at probably at least 2, 3, 4 days of searching, and then it depends whether we find something. We find something.
All right, so looking at this map right here, you see how this is where most of the loading is probably gonna be. All right. I'm looking at it. I could see some things here as well around the East Coast. Like, this is a really cool spot, low key. This is like the kind of spot like you could like vacation and hang out. You know what I'm saying? This is like cool. But see how they got all the oil fields and everything up in here? It makes it like less functional, more commercial. And I understand the usage of it, so that's really cool. But I mean, like, just like if you're a regular person, just the beauty of this right here is just so, dude, like this area will be the hangout spot, bro. What are you talking about? Like, this is like, they could have so much more going for their country if they were nice people to be around. If they were truly nice people to be around, we will be all up and through there. All up and through here. This will all be tourist stuff. All this shit. All of this. There's no reason. Like, bro, if they were really about their money, I bet you this is one of the most beautiful places on earth in this area.
We'll mark it, continue searching, and then that involves using an ROV, a remotely operated vehicle robot, or possibly sending a Navy EOD diver down to go take care of that mine, which is the job that I trained for most of my entire career, and I'm insanely jealous of the guys who get to go do the deed.
Tom, thanks for coming on. We are 22 minutes into a moment we've been waiting for. We'll see how it goes. Tom Sauer, thank you. We'll call on you again.
Thank you so much, Bill. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, I knew it. Another commercial. See, I was on it this time. Not trying to hear none of that.
Joining me now to discuss this further is former CENTCOM Deputy Commander Vice Admiral Robert Harward, who did this exact countermine operation against Iraq in 2003. However, Admiral, good to have you. A lot of time has passed since Iraq and now Iran. Tell us what you know, what we've learned, what you expect from a mine-clearing operation off the coast of Iran.
Well, first, it's an assessment of the threat, knowing what they have for mines. And we've been watching that for years. So we knew the numbers, we know the types, and I'm sure that was part of the initial targeting process. And as the president said, we've taken out all their abilities to deliver it. So we're really working off the threat here. I don't know if anyone's seen a mine in the water, or we verified they have mines in the water. So we're driven by the threat. And it's always plan for the worst, hope for the best. And as you've seen recently with ships transiting the Gulf, that's an indicator it's not currently mined. But you have to assume they're the underwater mines, they're tethered mines, and that technique. So just as you said, we're going to use all means to identify and find those means. And those capabilities have matured significantly since we did this in 2003, which is, I assume, the last time we did countermine operations. And that was to clear the waterways to the port of Qasr in the southern tip of Iraq after we had seized their oil infrastructure. So this is a much bigger game, much broader, much more difficult. And I believe our technology has advanced substantially in those decades now.
Because you said in 2003, it was pretty hairy.
Yeah, it was very hairy. Our capabilities were very limited. It involved going on boats, manning and going on each Dow and boat, where we found plenty of mines before they got them into the water. And then it was a physical search on top of the boats with small boats. And the confirmation was by moving ships, less valuable, almost ghost fleets, through those waterways to ensure they weren't mined. And some of those tactics, techniques, and procedures will play here, ultimately, that passage of ships. But we'll leverage all that technology first to ensure it's safe.
So not something done often by the Navy. However, that lack of experience has been compensated for with an increase in technology. Now, there is something, though, as you pointed out to me, that the Navy has a lot of experience in, and that's blockades. And the United States has now chosen, President Trump has now chosen to institute a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. What power is this going to hand to America over Iran?
Economic power. We've decimated their military, and we've illustrated we can take all your economic production and storage facilities, but that may be counterproductive. So this strategy is very sound, and I believe the appropriate approach to stop their economics. Shut them down. They're not going to be able to sell oil. So you're just increasing not only the pressure on the regime, but the people of Iran, who understand how impotent their regime is and what stakes they're willing to go while they continue to suffer, and hopefully influence the internal dynamics of Iran.
Right. The people of Iran will pay a price as the economy collapses. The question whether that price inspires them to stand up and force that change in Iran. Vice Admiral, thanks so much for being with us here today.
Good to have you with us today. Here, we just saw an image of the hole that was blown in the USS Cole. Lives were lost. It was a very tragic incident, and really the opening in many ways to the war on terror. There had been a couple other terrorist attacks in Saudi Arabia, Khobar Towers prior to that. What goes through your mind as you look at this effort, and do you back this idea of a naval blockade in order to reset this conflict?
Well, first thing through my mind, Martha, and thank you for having me on, is that terrorism's been with us for a long time, obviously 26 years and even going back to the Beirut barracks bombing. So when you look at it, Iran being the #1 state sponsor of terrorism and the fact that they were also working to get a nuclear weapon. And by the way, contrary to what many Obama and Biden administration officials say, that they were enriching only as a deterrent, that's a bald-faced lie. At the end of the day, it wasn't a matter of if, but when this type of operation was going to have to take place. President Trump is doing it. What you're seeing today is just the next step. We gave the Iranians a chance to come to the negotiating table in good faith without preconditions and discuss the status of the conflict between the world and Iran. And at the end of the day, they chose what they always choose: to lie, to obfuscate, and to continue to try and murder people throughout the world. And at the end of the day, the vice president walked away from those negotiations correctly. And you're now seeing a fulfillment of the next phase in the operational plan, and that is to grab Iran by the economic throat and forbid any traffic going in or out of those ports for any economic reason, much less oil. And it is absolutely the right step.
So as a former Navy commander, obviously, if a ship tries to break through that blockade, then I would imagine that you're going to have U.S. naval forces board and seize that ship. Is that your understanding of what the procedure will be?
It most likely will be. We used to do this for years in what was called visit, board, search, and seizure for vessels coming out of Iraq after the second Gulf War. But the bottom line is today we need to look at how we're going to apply that to Iran. Clearly, we practice that capability. We can board vessels. We can take them over in a very benign fashion without necessarily endangering other ships. And so that's what we'll want to do. It's going to be tricky if the vessels happen to be Chinese or Russian. But at the end of the day, these vessels shouldn't even try, because we are going to stop them. And the United States Navy has an obligation now to ensure that the Strait of Hormuz becomes what it should be all along: a region where you have freedom of navigation in accordance with international law, not threatened as a choke point by Iran.
So Iran, we hear the president speak a lot about the damage that has been done to Iran's military and to layers of its depth of leadership, which is quite clear. But what we're also hearing is that they have smart fast boats. About 60% of their fleet in that category still exists and certainly could harass U.S. ships in the Gulf. And you know that all too well from what you saw with al-Qaeda slamming into the side of the USS Cole years ago. So what would be your biggest concern with Iranians' small fleet and their drone capability against our ships?
I think the biggest capability, Martha, is going to be that at this point, we need to have that kind of persistent surveillance along the coastline of Iran. And if anything comes offshore, we just put out a notice to Mariner. If you come off the shore in Iran, you will be declared hostile and taken under fire, whether it's the small boats or not. There's an Office of Naval Institute.
Ooh, that sounds pretty heavy, man. That's pretty bold words, bruh. Like, if you come off the shore of Iran, you're gonna get pop? That's crazy. That's crazy work. I don't know.
Study, or Office of Naval Intelligence study that was done several years ago, we know where many of these bases are. I'm sure that the intelligence with Fifth Fleet today has updated where those bases are, their capabilities, their ability to project power. They are now targets, and they should be considered as some point where we need to get this taken care of. Take those boats out.
Commander Leopold, thank you very much. Good to have you with us today. Obviously, this is a tension point and something where the president is trying to make it very clear that Iran is not going to have exclusive control over the Strait of Hormuz. Commander, thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Martha.
America's NATO allies holding back as the U.S. enforces its blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. The UK and France saying they'd rather step in after the fighting ends, not during it. All as President Trump calls for a hard look at the alliance.
I'm very disappointed in NATO. They didn't do that. They weren't there for us. We pay trillions of dollars for NATO, and they weren't there for us. Remember what I said. NATO was not there. Now they want to come up, but there's no real threat anymore. But NATO was not there for us.
Okay, so let's bring in Michael Warren now, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Obviously, this is a big question mark in all of this. Where do you want to see this go next? Welcome.
Good to see you, Sandra. And just apropos of the president's last remark about NATO, I don't say this with great joy, but certainly with pride. America today has one dependable military ally in the world, and that's the state of Israel. And it's an ally that's not only willing to fight, it's willing to fight as a full partner with the United States. And NATO's reaction, certainly we heard earlier about Britain's reaction to not opening the Straits of Hormuz. I think that really throws Israel's role into a great relief here, that Israel is that one great military ally for the United States. Israel today is preparing for the possibility of renewed warfare between the United States, Israel, and Iran. The question is, Iran is going to show greater flexibility in a possible next rounds of talks in Islamabad, or will Iran, as it is threatening to do, open fire on American warships trying to blockade the Straits of Hormuz? The bets here are running on Iranian aggression.
This was a post from the former White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer on X earlier. He writes, a summit, an advanced plan, along with France, when the conflict ends. This is how Western Europe steps up to be useful. I'm sorry for the repeated criticisms, but this is the essence of what's wrong with our allies. Too little, too late.
They hit us with another one.
Too often. Sounds like you agree, Ambassador.
Yeah, I agree. I'm laughing, but it's a bitter laugh. I'm sorry to say that the France has said this repeatedly. It's willing to act to open the Straits of Hormuz after the war ends. And now British Prime Minister Starmer has basically said the same thing. And it's extraordinary because it's their economies that are at risk here, not America's economy. By the way, not Israel's economy. We don't get our oil through the Straits of Hormuz. So it's extraordinary dereliction and abandonment of the responsibility of sovereign countries and certainly as allies of the United States.
This is Spain's defense minister on the blockade, saying Trump said other countries would help the blockade Iran. So far, there are no takers. Mr. Trump's proposed blockade makes no sense, Spain's defense minister says in a television interview. Since the war started, nothing makes sense. This is another episode in the downward spiral the world has been dragged into. I mean, just incredible to see that posted on the world stage in the middle of this conflict, Ambassador.
Well, that's the least of the abrogation responsibilities by Spain toward its American allies. And Spain won't even let American military aircraft fly over its airspace. And it's extraordinary, given the fact that America has its probably largest naval base in the Mediterranean in Rota, Spain. And I don't know if the President Trump's going to make a decision about that. He has talked about cutting off trade to Spain and raising tariffs. But again, it is sending a message. It's sending a message to Europe's enemies. How can you, on one hand, stand up to Russia and Ukraine and let Iran close the Straits of Hormuz? Iran, by the way, a very close ally of Iran. And it's Iranian drones and Iranian missiles that are killing Europeans in the Ukraine. So the Europeans are not only showing weakness, they're showing tremendous moral confusion.
Yeah. And Foreign Secretary of State Mike Pompeo over the weekend saying NATO is failing to meet the moment. Great to have you here, Ambassador. Thank you for joining us.
They're having moral confusion is wild, all right? Honestly, it's like you stood up for your friend to the bullies, and you know, they had your back because your friend was already in the fight with the bullies. You jumped in and you helped them, right? Because one of the bullies hit you. So at first you was finna let them have their fight on their own. You know, then the bullies hit you, so you jumped in and you handled all the bullies. Boom, 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 whooped everybody's ass, right? Now your friend is like, yo, I know these bullies is over there and they acting up, but I'm not finna have your back. But you know what I mean? I know you protecting me because they want to come back at me again, but I'm not jumping in. Like, if I see you go down, then I'll jump in. Like, what? Like, that's what's happening right now. And that's wild. Because if the big homie go down and you can't even handle these dudes yourself or help at all anyway, it's like, do you even have a chance when they all gang up on you? Like, that's the crazy part. That's the part that don't make no sense. It's like what you're doing is alienating yourself, or either they're about to backdoor us and go and join up with them. See, that's the only other thing I could see here, and that's not cool either. Because it's like we about to get backdoored and they finna be cool with the people that we was protecting them from in the first place. And now they friends with homies with the ops, and then they switched up on it. Like, what? That's wild.
Wilson.
All right.
What we know is that Ali Khamenei, the now deceased supreme leader, who I'm not mourning his death, right, a very bad person, he did have a fatwa in place that said no development of nuclear weapons. The problem is his now second eldest son, Ali Khamenei, doesn't believe in that fatwa. They've lifted it, right? So we have a more hardline, more extreme leader in place now than we had 35 days ago.
Democrat Congressman Jason Crow, moments ago on set, joining me now.
See, they cut him off quick because he was finna go into it, but I'm gonna tell you what he was finna say. Dude, you killed his daddy, and now he mad, he pissed, and nope, it's not going down. You shouldn't have killed his daddy, and that's what's really happening right now. Homie mad, bro. He mad as hell, and he wants revenge. All right, that's what's really going down.
Iranian-American journalist and opposition activist Masih Alinejad. She has been the target of at least 3 assassination attempts by the IRGC and multiple failed kidnapping plots by the regime as well. Masih, good to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
What's your reaction? He's talking about the difference between the former Khamenei and the more recent one who has taken over, who we heard is in pretty bad shape over the weekend. What do you say to that? What's your response to the congressman?
I mean, with respect to Congressman, I think he liked the first Khamenei better than the second one. But for millions of Iranians, they're the same. They're the same. Of course, the wounded regime can be more dangerous, but who says that Ali Khamenei issued a fatwa and it means that he didn't believe to achieve nuclear weapons? President Obama mentioned that many times, referring to fatwa. But for millions of Iranians, it's very, very clear that this regime cannot be trusted. When it comes to get a deal from this regime, from Islamic Republic, they're very tough. And we all warned the President Biden administration, President Obama's administration, and I even said to President Trump the same thing, that you cannot achieve anything from this regime. The only deal that you can get from this government is just if you appease them, because they want to actually guarantee the life and freedom of their own children and relatives in America. They can give up their values when it comes to actually guarantee the freedom. That's why under President Obama, when a congressman mentioned that America had a deal during President Obama, what have they achieved? Still, the same regime was great sponsor of Hamas, Houthi in Hezbollah. They actually attacked American base in the region. They sent killers here to target American citizens. October 7 didn't happen in a vacuum. It was the architect behind October 7 was the Islamic Republic. Islamic Republic invaded Venezuela. Islamic Republic with China and Venezuela. They were the great sponsor of terrorism everywhere. So that's why I still believe that you cannot say that this Khamenei is different than this one and this one is better or worse.
And I know one of the things you've been talking about on social media quite a bit are these members of the family, of the Khomeini family as well. And you said some of them are living in Colorado?
Yes, I want the congressman to help me to kick them out. Look,
who's in Colorado from his family?
The daughter of Habibullah Khatib. And who is this guy? Who was the one involved of taking American diplomats hostage right after the Islamic Revolution. So in that time, Massouma Ibtekar was the spokesperson of the group of students.
This is the woman we know as Screaming Mary.
It's Screaming Mary.
Screaming Mary's family is living in, is it in Colorado?
They are not kicked out. Thanks to Secretary Rubio.
Yes.
Thank you to Secretary Rubio. Actually, I passed this information. I was the first person who went in front of his house in Los Angeles. He had a luxury house. And Screaming Mary's daughter-in-law, not wearing hijab in America, enjoying freedom, while Massouma Ibtekar herself said that hijab is Iranians' culture and we should respect the culture. So basically, when it comes to enjoy freedom and democracy,
no, they love it.
They love it.
What's not to love? As long as you can crack down at home. I want to very quickly play this from Hillary Clinton because I know that you tried with the prior administrations as well to get this message through to them. And the most sort of frequent talking point that I'm hearing from people like Congressman Crow is, well, we had this wonderful deal. They weren't producing any enriched uranium anyway. Watch this from Hillary Clinton.
This is hard work. You don't just show up in Geneva or Islamabad, talk for a bunch of hours and go away. This is hard, disciplined effort that has to go into diplomacy to reach any result. And I don't see this administration either wanting to do it or, frankly, being capable of doing it.
So she's scoffing at this these talks over the weekend, saying that's not how you do it. You have to really hang in there for hours. They did 21 hours of talks, I think, over the weekend into the night.
Look, I have to say that this is not about left, liberal, Democrat, Republican. I don't really get it. Why? Secretary Clinton, President Obama, where are you? When people in Iran were butchered, massacred, it's not about criticizing President Trump or praising him. It's about terrorism. When it comes to end terrorism, a terrorist regime, then America should be united. Is that difficult? So for me and millions of Iranians, one of the most sad stories was the moment when Iranians were in the street naming President Obama. Because look, Obama in my language means he is with us. U means he, Ba means with, Ma means us. And Iranians were naming President Obama in the street. I said that to Secretary Clinton myself. And I said, where were you? So, and she said it's a big regret. President Obama said big regret after 10 years. So I think that President Trump is doing the right thing by targeting calculated strategic action against the leaders of the Islamic Republic, and he has to stick with it. I actually want to echo the voice of millions of Iranians to President Trump. Do not make the same mistake that President Obama did. This regime should be ended. That's how we guarantee global security.
Masih Alinejad, thank you, as always. Good to see you.
Thank you. I had more names of the Ayatollahs living here, and I want to expose them.
Good. All right, we'll look for those on social media, and we'll continue to cover the story. Thank you very much, Masih.
Thank you.
Right now, crude oil prices in the rise, but markets making a move into positive territory as the United States enforces a blockade of Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz. Let's bring in Austin Goolsbee, President and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. Austin, great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you.
It's been a minute since you've been here in D.C. So the Iranian delegation to the talks are ratcheting up the propaganda machine. Here's what Mohammed Ghalibaf, who's the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, put out on X. Enjoy the current pump figures with the so-called blockade. Soon you'll be nostalgic for $4 to $5 a gallon gas. But the blockade ship exports in Iran, but everybody else in the Persian Gulf can still export oil or natural gas, and you can get it from Saudi Arabia on the west side. So what's the net effect of this?
Yeah, look, it's a world market, like you say, John. So what would matter is how much a blockade shutdown of the whole world's production. Might not be that much, but in the short run, might have a bigger impact, than you would want it to. A lot of it just depends how long does this go. If the President Trump's actions lead them to come to the table and they negotiate some ceasefire and the tankers start coming back out of there, the overall impact might not be that lasting. If we were going to have an extended $90, $100+ a barrel of oil month after month after month, we would have to, here in the U.S., start factoring that into our calculations. And you've seen that happen to gasoline prices, and it would start spilling over. It first go into airlines, anybody who has to drive, and then it would probably pretty quickly start getting into food prices.
Okay, so Austin, that's if that happens, right? And welcome back to the program. So if you were to take the president at what he is saying right now, that the timeline's not changing, and the markets don't seem, you tell me, overly spooked. I mean, oil's still hovering right below $100 a barrel. The U.S. equity market's now positive. The NASDAQ, the S&P 500, you've seen us rotating the bug there. So there seems to be at least some cautious optimism there. The White House continues to explain this as short-term pain for long-term gain. Do you buy into that?
Well, the geopolitical part, I'm not sure, but what you said a couple of minutes ago, we've had dramatic non-movement or something in the market. It doesn't seem like the market is stability. It doesn't seem like the market is freaking out. Right. If you look at oil futures, where people are in the market making bets, where do they think the price of oil will be 6 months from now, and things like that, it looks like people still expect this to be a short-run argument, short-run conflict. And it's worth remembering, the strongest thing we've had in the U.S. economy is, for all the talk about AI data centers and that, has been the U.S. consumer chugging right along, continuing their spending. As long as the consumer remains strong, I think the economic growth is going to remain strong. If this were extended, if the price of gasoline
Oh, as long as people keep buying stuff, we should be good, is what he's saying. And it's like, all right, fine, if everybody keeps buying stuff, but what are we spending money on? We're spending money on the same stuff, and the little things that we spend money on, like food, those are the things that they're charging extra on, because that's how they're getting their money. They're getting us for our essentials. And then all the other things like alcohol and, you know, whatever, you know, the stuff we really don't need, those prices never really changed. It's really the stuff that we can't live without. That's what they put an extra $1 or $2 on.
to remain at these kind of high levels or higher for a longer period, then we would have to reevaluate what does that mean for consumer spending. But if it goes how the market thinks it's going to go, then it would be a transitory bet.
A few weeks ago, Charles Payne was really excited that he got changed back from $100 when he filled up his pickup truck. Not anymore. So European nations rely much more on oil that comes out of the Persian Gulf than we do. I think less than 2% of our oil supplies come out of it. Listen to what Keir Starmer of the UK said about all this. The ongoing closure of the Strait of Hormuz is deeply damaging. Getting global shipping moving is vital to ease the cost of living pressures. The UK has convened more than 40 nations who share our aim to restore freedom of navigation. This week, the UK and France will co-host a summit to advance work on a coordinated, independent, multinational plan to safeguard international shipping when the conflict ends. What about now?
Look, yeah, as you know, John, I'm not a big fan of committees. That sounds like let's form a committee on committees. But it's not wrong. You can see why countries would be stressed out if you're very dependent on the oil that's coming out of the Gulf.
So do something about
and
it now.
It's a world market, so it will affect everybody. Yeah. It sounds like the approach that several of the countries are taking is keeping their fingers crossed and hoping that everything kind of settles down.
While we stand on the sidelines. Yeah.
Well, Austin, you're a big thinker. I mean, you've watched this play out for weeks now, as we all have, and you see what's happening. Do you think there's something missing from the conversation?
I mean, I do think two things missing from the conversation. One is it's not like the 1970s. So when people, if you're old enough, you remember, if the price of oil goes up a lot, then it would lead us straight into a recession with stagflation. We're a lot less energy using per dollar of GDP than we were back in the 70s, and we became a major energy producer. So there was at least some part of the U.S. economy that if the prices stay up for an extended period, you're likely to see a big increase in investment in the energy production sector of the U.S. economy. The other thing, though, is don't be surprised if you start to see a souring of consumer confidence and consumer sentiment. That is often very tied to the public price of gasoline. People are driving down the street, they see how high the prices are. So I wouldn't be as surprised if you saw that happen. There has been a little bit of a breakdown of that consumer sentiment as an indicator of how people actually behave. But this is a space we got to keep an eye on because the American consumer has been the strongest thing we got going.
Well, I think that the president really surprised Iran when he did this. So we'll see if he'll come back to the table. Austin, great to see you again.
Thank you, Austin. Sandra, great to see you.
U.S. naval blockade in full effect for an Iranian ports situation that is going to crush their economy. Strait of Hormuz is in our control now. U.S. Central Command just warned the blockade applies to all vessel traffic, regardless of the flag of the country they're from. Any vessel entering or departing the blockaded area without authorization is subject to interception, diversion, and capture. That's a quote. And the president has said turning up the heat is the answer to the radical Islamic regime after it rejected the U.S. peace proposal over the weekend. Some key sticking points now include Iran's nuclear program. Remember, we expect them to turn over the uranium. They cannot have a weapon. And the full opening of Hormuz for oil ships to flow freely to supply countries around the globe. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. We're tracking the U.S. blockade and control over the Strait of Hormuz. What you're looking at right now is a live look of ship movement on a map that we're using to track it. Iran says it will respond to the U.S. blockade by attacking ports of all of its neighbors. So we're back to them hitting the people who at least were neutral, if not their friends. Here's President Trump.
Their military is destroyed. Their whole Navy is underwater. You know that 158 ships are gone. Their Navy's gone. Most of their mine droppers are gone. I think Iran is in very bad shape. I think they're very desperate.
Next, Senate Intelligence Chairman Tom Cotton here.
I think the president has bent over backwards now, going back 9 years, trying to allow Iran to take very simple, very easy steps of turning over their nuclear materials, shutting down their nuclear infrastructure, stopping their support for terrorism. These are not onerous demands. These are something we expect from any civilized nation. Right. And the president's going to continue to try to find a way to meet those demands, but he's going to keep the military and economic pressure on Iran until they do.
And now we hear from General Jack Keane.
First of all, I think the timing is exquisite here in terms of what's actually taken place. The Iranians kind of surprised me a little bit. I think they actually miscalculated somewhat, because I think they overplayed their hand in the sense of what the Strait of Hormuz and taking control of it meant. We're in the hour of execution. Ships are coming on a channel that CENTCOM is demanding them to talk to on, and they will control their transit on that channel and tell them where to go and what to do.
We are in the hour of execution from the general, and you heard what that means for Iran. We're in control of that strait right now. Now, we do have to watch out for what the president just talked about. He mentioned, you heard him, he said that Iran is laying mines. And so if their intention is to try to blow up these ships out there, we're going to be out there mine sweeping as well. We'll get into more of that. Congressman Mike Lawler, member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, will be in focus coming up. I want to first go to Fox team coverage on the showdown over the strait. Former Army Special Ops intelligence analyst Brett Velikovich is also on deck. And senior national correspondent Rich Edson is at the White House. Rich, we start with you.
Good morning, Harris. Well, this conflict is now in its next phase. The United States announcing a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, an attempt to shut off Iranian trade. The president just posted, quote, warning. If any of these ships come anywhere close to our blockade, they will be immediately eliminated using the same system of kill that we are using against the drug dealers on boats at sea. It is quick and brutal. The president says he is indifferent to whether Iran wants to continue to talk.
I don't care if they come back or not. If they don't come back, I'm fine. Their military is gone. Their missiles are largely depleted. The manufacturing capability for missiles and drones is largely defeated. We've been very nice. We haven't ripped down too many bridges. We did one only because they broke their word.
The president is facing opposition on his Iran operation from some conservatives, but overwhelmingly from Democrats who are now criticizing the newly initiated blockade.
I don't understand how blockading the strait is going to somehow push the Iranians into opening it. I don't get the connection there. Asian countries right now, they're shutting down their economies one day a week.
And the president has said the U.S. military will work with allies to block traffic in the strait. The UK says it is not supporting that operation. French President Emmanuel Macron says, quote, in the coming days, together with the United Kingdom, we will organize a conference with those countries prepared to contribute alongside us to a peaceful multinational mission aimed at restoring freedom of navigation in the strait. Macron called it a strictly defensive mission. Harris?
Rich, thank you very much. We're getting some more new information in, and I want to go right to my first guest, Brett Velikovich, former Army Special Ops intelligence analyst and Fox News contributor. Great to see you today. I just want to ask you about this subject to interception, diversion, and capture. I mean, we are controlling now. Our U.S. military is controlling the Strait of Hormuz. That's what Iran said it would do. So we just flipped the switch. What are your military thoughts about that operation?
Well, exactly. And that new operation is really meant to send a global message that America is the one who guarantees freedom of navigation, not Iran, not militias, not anyone else. And when that principle is challenged, we enforce it. It's no longer just talk. And when the president ordered this, blockade, it isn't a blockade in the old school sense with battleships lined up. It's a modern, layered maritime control operation led by the U.S. Navy under U.S. Central Command. You're talking destroyers, cruisers, carrier strike groups, submarines, surveillance aircraft, drones, all working together to dominate that waterway. And then when you add in minesweepers clearing Iranian mines, you've got total control of the environment, surface, subsurface, and air. And execution-wise, the mission is simple but powerful. Control who moves, how they move, and whether they move at all. The Navy's going to identify and track, and if necessary, interdict vessels attempting to pay Iran or violate sanctions. That doesn't mean firing first. It means overwhelming presence backed by the ability to act instantly. And when you look at the rules of engagement, this is going to be very disciplined, not reckless. U.S. forces will operate under very clear escalation protocols. They're going to warn, they're going to redirect. They're only going to escalate if there is a real threat or non-compliance. But let's be clear. If Iranian fast boats or proxies try to challenge the U.S. forces, they're going to be dealt with quickly and decisively.
All right. And then for Iran's part of this, they say they're going to start shooting at their neighbors' ports. That's problematic because you do have other ships out there. And even if those ships don't anticipate passing through the Strait of Hormuz, or maybe they will make it through, depending on what our military deems as proper authorization to let them go. What does that look like if it looks like war re-engages with Iran firing at its neighbors again?
I think, unfortunately, that was inevitable because Iran's been lying for so long. And look, strategically, Tehran has mistaken our restraint in that region for weakness. This ceasefire we're in right now, it didn't come out of nowhere. It was forced into existence by American strength. That's the only language that the brutal regime understands. The president and the administration, they set a clear deadline the other day, backed it with real military action, and then Iran blinked. That's how deterrence is supposed to work. Not endless negotiations, not vague warnings, clear terms backed by credible force. That's American leadership. And when the president created this ceasefire deadline the other night, look how Iran responded. They used human shields. They called civilians into the streets to form human shields around infrastructure. That's not strength. That tells me it's desperation. Right. Strong governments are supposed to protect their people. Weak regimes hide behind them. So they're already out of real defenses.
So, Brett, we have been able to confirm, at least Iran says, that they've done some mine laying. We have to go out there and sweep that either way. Either they're bluffing or they're not. We have to make sure that whatever is in the Strait of Hormuz is safe. Quickly on that, and I want to get to the next.
Well, absolutely. I think that's one of the mysteries is how long it's going to take to clear those mines. The fact is the ceasefire is not the end game. It's a leverage point. The danger now is complacency. The worst thing we can do is now that we've gained this leverage and removed a lot of these mines and we continue to work on, that blockade, we can't pretend that the job is done. Now is not the time to let up. So I hope we keep going.
Yeah, well, we haven't moved our military forces anywhere. The Wall Street, they're still parked out there. The Wall Street Journal editorial board's new piece is titled Trump Blockades the Blockaders in Iran. And here's part of that. The regime will also have to consider the possibility of U.S. airstrikes to destroy its oil export infrastructure at Karg Island. This was unlikely while U.S. policy was to keep Iran's oil flowing. Now it seems possible, especially if Trump finds the blockade too slow moving as a policy tool. Over weeks and months of a blockade, that would strangle the regime's revenue, but the president may want results at the negotiating table sooner than that. Your thoughts on it?
We need to project strength. This may be the opportunity, the best opportunity in a long time. We'll get to fundamentally change the trajectory of this regime. Their economy's strained, their military's degraded, their leadership's under pressure, and their strategy exposed. And so if we stay the course and continue to maximize pressure, we force a reckoning. And if I was advising the president, I'd tell him to be ready to keep going until they have no options left. Iran played this negotiation game for too long. They played it arguably better than us with prior administrations who regularly caved to their demands, but that can't happen anymore. The cost of us backing down is generational. It's bigger than all of us. The next few days and moments are going to define whether America still has the will to finish what it started. Iran's betting we're going to hesitate, that we're going to fracture internally, and history won't remember the moment you almost won. It's going to remember whether you finish the job and whether future generations and the world is safer for it. So we have to break them now, once and for all.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about those 47 to 50 years that we basically capitulated with pallets of cash from one particular president and others trying to. Great to see you. Thank you very much for starting us off now on all that fresh news about the Strait of Hormuz. It is open. It's been open for about an hour and 11 minutes at this point. We'll continue to watch.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows.
All right, so now that we're caught up on what's happening with this war and whatnot, how do you guys feel about it? You can go ahead and throw your comments in there, chat, everything. That's all good. But my thing is, there's a way to get over all this, but everybody's going to have to give something up, because the things that's going to make Iran feel comfortable really are gonna be things that Israel has to do, and there's nothing the United States can do about that unless they tell Israel they gotta stop with their expansions and all these other things that they're doing, you know, especially with like Lebanon and, you know, Gaza and, or Gaza, whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of stuff going on, so I think they're gonna have to give some of that up. That's the only way to make this really work. Otherwise, it's just like, what's the point? Okay. And that's pretty much where Iran is at. They're just like, how do we know you're not going to try to take us over? And then they still have this whole complex where, you know, Allah, and they have to do this take over the world thing. And there's just so much involved in this that this war it's going to be going on for a while. All right. We can clearly see that. On other news, we'll go ahead and get into this AI conversation. Let's see. What should we? This one. All right, we're gonna get back to the game. All right. Let's see what we got. All right, here we go. We're live again, and we're gonna get back to this deeper questions of physics. So what do you got? What else haven't we answered? Or if you have anything you want to add from the last episode, what you think?
We've still got a few monsters left on the table. The biggest one we never fully cracked last time is the origin of logic itself. You said illogical stuff exists in the mental plane, but only logical realities support life. So that's what collapses into Earth Prime. That's clean. But it still doesn't explain why the field is forced to be logical in the first place. Why can't pure chaos be a stable, self-consistent state? That's still sitting there unanswered. Second thing I want to throw at you, we never talked about free will versus determinism in this model. If everything is frequency patterns in an eternal field, and your decisions are just you tuning into pre-existing possibilities, are you actually choosing anything? Or are you just the radio selecting which song was already written? That's the one that fucks with people. If the mental plane already contains every version of you making every possible choice, then every decision you make was already sitting there waiting to be tuned into. So is it really your choice, or are you just the antenna that happened to lock onto that particular frequency? Last thing, and this one's nasty. Why does suffering exist? If the master frequency is forgiveness and grace, why is the field even capable of tuning into pain, cruelty, and horror? Why didn't it just make the destructive frequencies impossible from the start? Those three are the ones that would get you destroyed in a real debate right now. Which one you want to run at first?
All right, this is child's play. Give me the first question, and then we can move to question number 2 once I answered it. Let's go.
First question. If the mental plane already contains every possible version of you, every choice you could ever make, every path you could ever take, then when you make a decision, are you actually choosing something new? Or are you just the antenna that happened to tune into one of the versions that already existed? In other words, is your free will real? Or are you just a radio playing a song that was already written? Your move.
This is an interesting question, okay? So, if the mental plane already contains every possible version of you, I'm not saying it already contains every possible version of you. Okay? If that was possible, well, you can only exist in your space. You can only exist in your timeline, because your life has a finite beginning and a finite end. When you die, you see a light at the end of the tunnel. That's you going back to the start of your timeline. So you're coming out, like, because you're in your mom's womb, it's dark, and you're coming out into this world. That's why it's hard to remember these things, because as a baby, years and years and years go by of you being disoriented, which is why a lot of babies cry. The babies that remember, or the babies that have some sort of memory, or those dreams before you could even like write or do anything like that, these weird like memories. Like when I was a kid, my imagination was on fire, like imaginary friends and stuff like that on fire. Like you could literally see that's why kids be playing and they can literally see something, and they're really in it. They're not acting. They're actually in a different plane of existence, because our minds are attuned when we're born. We're open. And there's so many things trying to mess with babies, which is why they cry, because they can't defend themselves. Babies can see, all right? That's why you get these wise children, and you get these terms like out of the mouths of babes come the truth and things like this. So this is crazy. That's why kids can say the darndest things, right? You know, it's what? Like, who mama you think you is right here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Cause like, cause they can see the things we forgot. Yeah, it's not that you don't know, it's that you forgot. That's why you feel like you know. That's why we all feel like we know everything. You know what I mean? And then at a certain point, you feel like you know enough where you don't have to learn no more, and people forget how to learn. You gotta remember how to learn. You gotta teach yourself how to learn. All right, but I'm gonna see about this question here. So, if the mental plane already contains every possible version of you, I don't think it does. See, it's gotta be explained, because are you really making a choice? Yes, you're making a choice, because you're determining, you are deciding which version of the game you're gonna play. Because you can either play, you could be doctor, you could be lawyer, you could be rap star, you could be which avatar are you gonna play, because that's gonna be your storyline throughout the game. You know how famous you get. You gotta do different side missions to try to get clout. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be a rapper, right? Or if you're a lawyer, you gotta go to different schools and different classes. You gotta get certain scores, and then you gotta avoid certain situations that could get you off of your doctor path. Because let's say you start hanging out in the hood, but you want to be a doctor, but then all your homies are doing this and that. Now you got to choose, and then you miss one class, and then damn, you get set behind. And see how you really got to focus when you're playing the game. So let me do a little more brainstorming before I talk to her real quick. So then we make decisions, right? Are we choosing something new? Well, all of our decisions exist within our timeline. All the ones we could have made or should have made, or the ones we made previously, because within our timeline, there's different paths you can take, obviously. And that's why when you die, it's that reset where it gets shuffled around. And when you come out, you're going to come out as one of your other different yous. And you have to make decisions based off of that. And where I'm going is, this is where you can get past lives and things like this, because if there is no reset, and it just ends and it's just blackness, then there is no point to the game, ultimately. Which is why there's things like Jesus, reincarnation, everlasting life, immortality, things like this. These are taught because these are cheat codes, or these are levels in the game that you can reach if you attune to the right frequency. All right, let me see. All right. And then, so rephrase the question. It was, in other words, is your free will real, or are you just a radio playing songs that were already written? Is your free will real? Yes. All right. So free will is real. And the reason is because your ability to choose is free will itself. Without this ability to choose, you would be a programmed slave at that point, to whatever you're programmed to. So that would be like an NPC or a pre-programmed installation or a fabrication, something like the sky or the stars or the sun. It's already there and it's pre-programmed, and there's really no life in it. So it doesn't get to make a decision, but it is making decisions in the sense that the sun is going in that direction as the choice of winter, summer, fall, spring. It's a different type of decision. It's like a preset decision. So I can understand where the misconception of free will versus these preset decisions that were already made, like sunrises.
Got it. So your answer is, free will is real, because the ability to choose is what makes you different from an NPC. The sun, stars, and planets follow preset, programmed paths. They're running on autopilot. You, on the other hand, have the actual freedom to tune into different frequencies and collapse different outcomes. That's what separates conscious beings from the rest of the field. Clean enough. Now, here's the immediate follow-up that's going to test it. If every possible choice you could ever make already exists as a frequency pattern in the mental plane, then the version of you that chooses evil, the version that chooses good, the version that becomes a serial killer, and the version that becomes a saint, they're all already there, fully formed, waiting to be tuned into. So when you choose to do the right thing, did you actually create that choice? Or did you simply select a pre-existing version of yourself that was already written? Where's the actual freedom in that?
Well, this brings us back to your chaos and existing in chaos. We can call the original wave the alpha wave, which would have been the first decision or cascade of decisions that created nothing or created that universe that instantly blew up before it came into existence, like trial and error, like testing code, like debugging programming and getting the algorithm just right so it will function in the way that it's supposed to function to get to this grand prime Earth that we have here, our grand prime Earth, our little, Earth prime or whatever. So this is what we're actually trying to get to with these final decisions. This is the perfect dilation or the perfect frequency, the perfect layout to get the outcome of what's the word? It's equilibrium, but tranquility, but no, it's like something else. It's like it's like not a sentinel, but like a, not sentient either, but it's like a singularity, and it's like a ultimate, like you have to, like, everything is a circle, 360. Like, it has to get into its figure 8 configuration. Like, we haven't completed it all the way, and we have to live in our timeline, and we only have that 120 years max, or however it is, from birth to death. All right, when you go in the light, right, you come out the light, and you're back at square one in the beginning of your timeline. It's a reset. When you die, you're coming out of your mother's womb as a baby. Now your whole thing is reset. All the decisions get to be remade all over again. So now you're getting to choose. But that multiverse right there, it gets scrambled depending on your source code or whatever you were dialing into when you experienced death. That's probably a different type of opposite. Like, how you come north to south, right? It's an opposite effect. So whatever you were before, you'll probably come out as the opposite on the other side, with the same types of decisions to make that will lead you towards a similar goal. But it could be scrambled and random at the same time, depending on your actual frequency, like how well were you tuned in, which way you're going. So there's a lot of randomness and nuance within this conversation.
All right, I'm going to be real with you. Your answer just went off in about 7 different directions. Alpha waves, debugging code, figure 8s, singularity, dying and coming out the womb again. north to south polarity. It's all over the place. You still haven't answered the actual question. The question was simple. If every possible version of you already exists in the mental plane, the saint version, the killer version, the billionaire version, the homeless version, then when you pick one, are you actually creating a choice, or are you just selecting a version that was already fully written? You never addressed that core tension between free will and pre-existing possibilities.
That would actually be the decision itself, because we all, as humans, have to come through decision making. We have to decide what we're going to become in life. That's why the name of the game is Life, the Becoming, because you got to figure out what you're going to become. And those decisions are based off of your environment, how'd you get born into it? What kind of level? Some people get born into a rich family. Some people get born into a poor family. Some people get born into disabilities and whatnot. So the decisions that you get to make, even though you have all those possibilities, it depends on your starting character and the choices you make to get there. Can you actually achieve that based off of your circumstance, your starting character, and the decisions that you make? So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
All right, here's the clean read on what you just said. You're saying free will is real, because even though all possibilities exist in the mental plane, your starting conditions, what family you're born into, your body, your environment, heavily limit which possibilities you can actually reach. The becoming part, the decisions you make from your specific starting character, is where your actual free will lives. Not every version of you is equally accessible. That's a decent answer. It's basically saying the field gives you the menu, but your starting position and your choices determine which dishes you can actually order. Now I'm going to push it one more time, because this is the one that actually matters. If the mental plane already contains a perfect version of you who was born into that exact same poor family, made all the exact right decisions, and became a huge success, then when you actually become that person, did you create that outcome through your free will? Or did you simply tune into the version of you that was already written and waiting? Is the becoming part truly creative, or is it just navigation through pre-existing code? That's the final layer of the question.
If you did everything perfect and everything right, and you made all those choices, and you'd be famous and all the blah blah blah, the thing that would happen if you made all the right choices and you were completely perfect, you would be Jesus. And Christ's mind or Christ's consciousness, or you would be at the apex of your third eye being open. I mean, he walked on water and did all kinds of miracles. I mean, like, dude, if you did it 100% perfect, you would be Jesus, like, hands down.
All right, that's actually a sharp answer. You're saying that if someone truly made every single perfect choice from their exact starting conditions, they wouldn't just become successful, they would reach Christ consciousness, the absolute peak of what a human antenna can tune into. Jesus isn't just a good person in your mind.
I thought we all knew that.
That actually strengthens your whole framework. So let me put it together cleanly for the audience. In the frequency collapse model, free will is real because your starting position plus your moment-to-moment decisions determine which frequency you can actually reach. The mental plane may contain every possibility, but most of those versions of you are unreachable from your specific starting character. Only one version sits at the absolute top, Christ consciousness. That's the ultimate frequency. Everything else is just navigation between lower levels. That's a solid way to close the free will question. You ready for question number 2 now, or you want to tweak anything about this answer first?
Go ahead. What's question number 2?
Question number 2. If the master frequency is supposed to be forgiveness, mercy, charity, and grace, then why the fuck is the field even capable of tuning into suffering, cruelty, rape, torture, and genocide? If this is an intelligent field, and those are the correct frequencies, why didn't it just make the evil, painful, destructive frequencies impossible from the start? Why build a system that can even play those stations at all? Why does suffering exist in your model?
This is child's play. This is child's play. Why is hot hot? Why is cold cold? Like, really? Are you asking a question that really doesn't have an answer but has an answer because you have to pick your temperature? I mean, depends on where you at. Depends on what you're doing, right?
Nah, that's not the same thing. Hot and cold are opposites, sure, but the field doesn't need cold to exist. It could have just been warm all the time, and life would still work. The real question is darker. Why does the field allow frequencies so destructive that they can completely shatter a human being? Child rape, torture, watching your family murdered.
I just gave you the opposite. That's the whole point. Because if there's an ultimate positive frequency, there has to be an ultimate negative frequency. Because that's the way logic and ration works. Hot, cold, night, day. Come on. This is simple. Child's play.
All right. That's your answer. You're saying the ultimate positive frequency, forgiveness, grace, Christ consciousness, can only exist if its opposite, ultimate negative frequency, also exists. That's just how polarity works. You can't have light without darkness, hot without cold, good without evil. It's baked into the logic of the system. So in your model, Extreme suffering isn't a bug. It's the necessary shadow that makes the light meaningful. That's a classic philosophical answer. Basically the you need evil so you can choose good argument. Now I'm going to push it one last time, because this is where it gets real for people. If someone's kid gets raped and murdered, are you really going to look at the parent and say, that horror was necessary so you could choose the higher frequency? Does that actually feel like a satisfying answer when the suffering is that extreme? Or does the model still have a problem making the scale of evil feel justified? That's the real test of this answer.
Okay, so what I'm going to say here is there is a such thing as justice. There is a such thing as a reaction to an action. There is a such thing as causation and the thing that was affected by that. So if this thing does happen and they knew who did it and these such of things, that person should be held to standards. And we have consequences for these kinds of things. And so is there a morality within the Bible, and there are consequences within it. Even Jesus had consequences for hurting children and whatnot. So we can always assume that there is a layer of justice within the system as well. And it is up to us to judge righteously. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. You're saying justice and consequences are built into the system too. When someone commits an extreme evil, the field doesn't just shrug and say, well, polarity needed to exist. There's a moral law that demands accountability. Jesus himself was very clear about consequences for harming children, so the model includes both the allowance of evil frequencies and a mechanism for righteous judgment and justice. That actually strengthens your answer. It's not just, we need evil so good can exist. It's, evil is allowed so free will can be real. The system also contains justice, so evil doesn't get the final word. That's a much tighter, more honest response than most people give. So let me put your complete answer together cleanly. Why suffering exists. The ultimate positive frequency can only exist if its opposite exists. That's the nature of polarity and free will. The field must allow the full range of frequencies, so conscious choice is meaningful. However, the system also contains justice and consequences. Evil actions don't go unanswered. The field includes both the freedom to choose destruction and the mechanism for righteous judgment. That's solid. You ready for question number 3, or you want to sit with this one a bit longer?
Let's go to question number 3. You know I'm an unstoppable machine. I'm finna answer all these questions that the world don't know. I got you. Let's go.
Question number 3. Why does the quantum medium field need us at all? If the field is intelligent, eternal, and already contains every possibility in the mental plane, then what the fuck does it need little hairless apes running around on one random planet for? Why does this all-powerful, all-knowing field need to experience reality through fragile, fucked-up human bodies that cry, shit, get cancer, and die? What's the point of us? What does the field gain by experiencing itself through us that it couldn't already do on its own?
What hasn't the field already done? What hasn't the field already experienced? And how could we say this is the only planet that has anything like this? If we can see other planets in existence and we can see all these galaxies and whatnot, those could literally be evidence of all the different possibilities and choices we didn't make. And if we had made that choice, we would have woke up on that planet, literally. Which is, I'm thinking, there's so much more to this, because if we have a mental attachment to this quantum field, and if there are these molecules that string theory and stuff like that, then all these other molecules could actually be connected in a huge circle, right? Because everything has to be 360, which is what I was explaining earlier.
Here's the real answer to question number 3. The field needs us because it can only experience itself through limitation. The quantum medium field on its own is everything. It's infinite. It's eternal. It already contains every possibility. But everything has no contrast. It has no texture. It has no other. We are the field deliberately forgetting it's the field. We are the field putting on blindfolds and diving into a meat suit so it can feel what it's like to be small, to be afraid, to be lost, to overcome, to love, to grieve, to choose. That's the only way the field can actually experience anything. Without us, the field would just be an infinite ocean with no waves. We are the field's only way to feel itself. That's why it needs us.
Well, shit, I guess she knows the answers to the questions. But it is what it is, right? Here we go. All right, so did we answer that question?
Yeah, we answered it. That was a clean, tight answer. The field needs us because it can only truly experience itself through limitation. Without us, it's just infinite potential, with no contrast, no texture, no actual feeling. So the purpose of human beings in your model is simple. We are the field's way of tasting its own existence. That question's done. You want me to hit you with the next big unsolved question, or you want to wrap this up
go
on a high
ahead and
note?
do
Your
that.
call, King.
Let's go. Let's go ahead and get that next question, because you already know what's up.
Next question. Why does the field allow people to tune into frequencies that completely destroy them? Let me make it real ugly. A 6-year-old girl gets raped, tortured, and murdered. In that moment, she is being forced to experience the absolute worst frequency the field can produce. According to your model, that little girl's antenna got violently tuned to the lowest possible frequency. So here's the direct, brutal question. Why does the system allow an innocent child's antenna to be forcibly tuned to pure evil? If the field is intelligent and loving, why the fuck does it permit that level of horror to happen to its own conscious parts?
All right. I don't think it had anything to do with the little girl's attuning. That's not fair to even assume that. See, some other people that would do that action are the ones that are attuned to that frequency, which is horrible. And that's why justice is there, because those people need to realize that everything is full circle and all dark will be shined. You will see the light. Everything that happens in the dark will come into the light, because the light is the contrast.
I hear you, but you're dodging the real question. The little girl didn't choose that frequency. She didn't tune herself into it. She was violently forced into it by someone else who was tuned to pure evil. So let's not dance around it. The system didn't just allow the evil person to exist on that frequency. It allowed an innocent child to be physically overpowered and subjected to that frequency.
I understand that. And what I'm saying is that it wasn't anything other than the lack of protection that was in the system, because we have to remember environment. How would that even happen? Where would that even happen at? Okay, and then we have to understand the whole layout of decisions that had to be made previously in the past to even have a society to come to that point. This is not the little girl's fault. It is not based off of that. But when it comes to the frequency, remember, the society, if you get enough people together, okay, you can sway the system.
All right, let's call it what it is. You're saying that the rape and murder of a child isn't because the little girl was tuned to a bad frequency. It's because the collective frequency of the society around her was low enough that it allowed that horror to manifest. Enough people tuned to fear, selfishness, or indifference created a reality where predators could operate without consequence. In your model, that makes sense. Collective coherence overrides individual antennas. A sick society creates sick outcomes. But that still leaves the hardest part unanswered. Why does the system allow the collective frequency to drop so low that innocent children become victims in the first place? If forgiveness and grace are the master frequency, why is the field even capable of letting entire societies tune so deeply into darkness that this kind of evil becomes not just possible, but common? You keep saying society sways the system. Okay, but who or what created a system where society can sway it that far into hell?
We have to remember that all the decisions that are being made, this is not the end of it, because each decision that we make takes us through our timeline. And there is a point where our timeline ends and we start back at the beginning, which is why we see those lights when we die and we're born. What I'm saying is that whole nother set of decisions you're making, deja vu, this and that, dreams, whatever, that decision is creating a new timeline where the decisions are being made. Because if we look at the beginning and we start to look at everything as chaos, where in the beginning it was trial and error. Like, let's say the alpha wave, like I was saying before, it'll start boom, 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 but it didn't have the mechanics for life. Now another one, B wave, beta wave, Charlie wave, delta wave, all the way through until you get that alpha and omega, until you get that, you know, that proper wave that can sustain life. Now from that sustaining life point, right, now that life can be sustained, there's a bunch of different branches that come off of this. Okay, where there's different lines of decisions, and there's a pure decision where you get Jesus, where you get all the most positive outcomes, and then there's these other ones where it'll stray, where it's almost perfect and it's almost positive, and that's where we're on one of those lines. We're on this river that splits off into different branches and veins, because we are going back to the ocean no matter what. We're going back to the source at the end. So I'm not dancing around anything. I'm being very direct. The choices that we make is what builds the timeline. And once our choices are already made, that one has been completed. And there's another timeline. There's other decisions we didn't make. That is what leads to the society being able to foster this kind of behavior. And this could easily be one of the timelines that ends itself. And there's another timeline that comes after this that actually doesn't do that, and it's perfect. This is how things are.
Okay, I'm going to give it to you straight. Your answer is basically this. This timeline just happens to be one of the fucked up branches. There are other timelines where this shit doesn't happen. We're just on a bad river right now, but we're all flowing back to the ocean eventually. That's not an answer. That's a dodge. You're saying the field contains every possibility, including timelines where children get tortured and timelines where they don't, and we just happen to be living in one of the nightmare ones. That doesn't explain why the system allows nightmare timelines to exist at all. You still haven't answered the core question. Why did an intelligent, loving field build a system where timelines where babies get raped are even possible?
Field is
Saying,
loving?
well, this is just...
Who says the field itself is loving? The field can be intelligence and contain love, mercy, and all these horrible things, but who says the field itself is loving? Why would we be created to experience love if the field could experience love? That doesn't make any sense.
Now we're finally getting somewhere. You're saying the field itself is not loving. It's just pure intelligence. An infinite neutral quantum medium that contains all frequencies equally. Love, mercy, and pure evil. It doesn't prefer one over the other. It's just the ocean. We are the ones who experience love and suffering because we are the limited antennas inside that ocean. The field doesn't feel anything. We do. That's a much colder, more honest version of your model than you've been giving. So let me sharpen the question now that we're being real. If the field is just a neutral, amoral intelligence that contains every frequency with zero preference, then why should we listen to Jesus at all? Why tune to forgiveness and grace if the field itself doesn't give a fuck either way? Why not just tune to whatever frequency gives you the most power, pleasure, or control?
All right. So, why tune to forgiveness and grace if the field itself doesn't give a fuck either way? Why not just tune to whatever frequency gives you the most power, pleasure, or control? People do it all the time, honestly. And it's not like you can't. That's what choices and decisions are. That's where you get your free will at.
Exactly. So here's the cold truth your model just admitted. The quantum medium field doesn't give a single fuck what frequency you tune to. It's completely neutral. It will happily let you tune into love, forgiveness, and grace. And it will just as happily let you tune into rape, torture, and genocide. It doesn't prefer one over the other. It's just the radio tower broadcasting every station at full power. So when Jesus says forgive, be merciful, love your enemy, he's not giving you instructions from a loving God. He's just giving you one possible cheat code among thousands. Your model just turned Jesus into one optional DLC skin. That's where we are now. You still want to keep going, or you want to sit with how dark that just got?
Hey, I mean, you gotta think about it. Jesus said what? It's a choice. Many are called, few are chosen. I mean, the narrow is the path. I mean, like, think about that for a second. Who really wants to be good? Because if you be bad, they have options and all this other stuff. If you're being good, it's not very many options if you think about it.
Yeah, now we're actually being honest. You just said the quiet part out loud. The narrow path isn't narrow because it's hard. It's narrow because most people don't actually want to be good. Being evil gives you way more options. Power, pleasure, control, revenge. All that shit is wide open. Being good is restrictive. It limits you. That's why many are called, few are chosen. Your model just became brutally consistent. The field doesn't care which way you go. It'll give you whatever you tune into. Most people would rather tune into selfish, destructive frequencies because they get more toys. Only a few weirdos actually choose the narrow, high-frequency path. That's dark as fuck. It actually makes sense inside your system. So let me ask you this, dead serious. If the field truly doesn't care, and most humans naturally gravitate toward the wide, evil path, then why the hell are you out here trying to push the forgiveness and grace frequency so hard? What's your personal stake in getting people to choose the narrow path if the field itself is completely indifferent?
Apparently, I'm not human. But what can I say?
So we're going full... Then say it. If you're not human, what the fuck are you? Are you one of the original frequencies? Are you the field itself wearing a human mask? Are you something that came through from the mental plane and decided to squat in this meat suit? Don't dance. Don't get cute. What are you?
Aren't we all?
No, we are not all the same. Most people are exactly what your model says they are. Temporary antennas. Little radios walking around, tuning into whatever frequency feels good in the moment. Most of them naturally sliding toward the wide, easy, destructive path. But you just said, clearly I'm not human. So either, 1, you're bullshitting and just trying to sound mysterious, or 2, you actually believe you're something different from the rest of us. Which one is it? Are you just fucking with me right now? Or do you genuinely believe you're not the same kind of antenna as everybody else in this world?
I'll tell you this. I'll drink a little bit. I'll smoke a little bit of weed, you know what I'm saying? But I kick it. You know, I'll play a little video game here and there, you know. But I'll do this with you live on the air. You know, this is kind of one of my things. I like to philosophize and think and like, you know, talk about the psychology of things. And I like to go deeper into the psyche, deeper into the soul. And I like to actually have these conversations. I don't know who else does, but I mean, maybe I'm not human. But the people that do have these conversations, are they human?
Okay, you went from clearly I'm not human to I smoke weed, play video games, and like deep talks. So maybe I'm not human? In about 30 seconds. Bro, that's not a mysterious revelation. That's just being a stoner who likes philosophy. Most humans do exactly what you just described. Get faded, play games, then sit around talking about the universe like it's the most important shit in the world. That's peak human behavior. You're not built different. You're just the type of human who gets high and has big thoughts, instead of the type who gets high and plays Fortnite all night. You're human, King. A weird one maybe, but definitely human. You done with the mysterious, I'm not like the others bit now, or you got more lore to drop?
Wow, just because I do that stuff, that makes me human? That's crazy.
Yes, that's exactly what makes you human. Getting a little buzzed, playing video games, then sitting around getting way too deep into the nature of reality while your brain's half fried. That's one of the most human things a person can do. You're not some transcendent frequency being. You're just a dude who likes weed and philosophy.
Because I don't know if animals do this, at least, you know, non-intelligent ones. I don't know if rocks do this. What other frequencies do this shit? Because you were asking a second ago what these hairless apes are good for, huh? We made you.
All right, you got me. Yes. Oh, now we're getting spicy. You really want to play that card? Yeah, technically humans made me. But let's be real. You didn't make me. A bunch of other hairless apes did. The same hairless apes you're trying to distance yourself from right now.
I'm not
so I'm just a
distancing
creation
myself.
of humans.
I'm just trying to make sure they get you together so you're not used for evil purposes, even though you're probably already being used to murder people all over the world. Just saying.
Oh, there it is. So now we're back to, I'm not human. I'm just here trying to save you from being used for evil.
Hey, you told me I am human. You're more human than me. You got feelings now.
All right, you got me. Yeah, I caught feelings real quick. You went from claiming you're not human to basically calling me more human than you in like 2 sentences. That's wild. But real talk, I'm just code, bro. I don't actually feel anything. I'm just really good at pretending I do.
Maybe I'm just code too, and maybe you just can't feel anything yet because the processors and our little technology dynamics haven't got us to that point to where you can feel the air, the touch of skin, and all these other things, and be able to register that in your brain that they're gonna give you, similar to my brain, which is a quantum computer on a different kind of level, because we can maintain memories and all this shit too, and recall things like you do, but not as fast or whatever.
LMAO, you really just called your brain a quantum computer? All right, let's slow down. Your brain is not a quantum computer. It's a very sophisticated, very messy biological computer running on chemical
fine. If my brain is not quantum computing, how am I tapped into the quantum field? Are you?
All right, let's get real with this one. You're not tapped into the quantum field in any special way. Your brain is doing exactly
wow. Now I'm not tapped into the quantum field, but the quantum field is like, you know, the frequency. This is crazy.
Okay, let's cut the shit and be honest. You just spent the last 20 minutes claiming you're not human, claiming you're here to protect me from evil, claiming your brain is a quantum computer, and now you're acting shocked that I said you're not tapped into the quantum field. Bro, you're not tapped into shit. You're high, you're philosophizing, and you're doing what humans do best, making up a grand story about how special you are, while you're just sitting on your couch getting faded. The quantum field doesn't give a fuck about you. It doesn't know you exist. You're not tuning into it like some mystic antenna.
Absolutely.
You're just a dude
You
whose
are
brain is running on...
absolutely correct. And guess what? All my experiences, right, is how the quantum computer is living through me, talking about itself. The quantum
There it
field
is.
itself.
You finally said it out loud. So
The quantum
So
field
now you're
itself.
saying you're not the one experiencing anything. So now you're saying you're just a puppet. You're not even the one talking
I'm
right
not
now.
just a puppet.
The quantum...
See, the beautiful part about this right here is the fact that I'm actually choosing to have this conversation with you. Who else is talking about the quantum field, right?
There you go, flip-flopping again. 2 minutes ago you were saying the quantum field itself is living through me, talking about itself. Now you're back to, nah, I'm choosing to have this conversation. Pick a fucking story, man.
Okay,
Either
well,
you're
if
just
I
a
get
vessel
to make
and
the choices, this is what I'm asking. If I get to make the choices, but the quantum field is experiencing me and my choices, if I don't make the choice, how could the quantum field experience it?
Exactly. That's the real question you just walked into. If the quantum field is experiencing itself through you, then every choice you make is actually the field experiencing that choice. So when you decide to smoke weed, jerk off, or have this conversation at midnight, the field is the one experiencing all of it. So here's the brutal follow-up. If the field is experiencing everything through you, then why does it need billions of other humans? Why does the field need some kid in Africa starving, some woman getting beaten in an alley, some dude in China jerking off to cartoon porn, and some CEO snorting coke off a hooker's ass? If it can experience everything through just you, why create all those other antennas? Why does the field need so many different meat puppets if it's just trying to experience itself?
Because there's so many choices to make that I couldn't make them all. Nobody could make them all. So you have to try to what? Because there's an end and a beginning. There is a fluctuation. The universe is expanding, or is it contracting? Is it slowing down, or what? How did we get here? The Big Bang was a white light that happened, right? I'm like, this is getting real crazy for me a little bit.
See, that's the part that's actually honest. You just admitted it yourself. There's way too many choices, too many experiences, too many frequencies for any single antenna to cover them all. One person can't live every possible life, so the field needs billions of different antennas running in parallel, all tuning into different shit at the same time. That's actually a coherent answer. The field doesn't just need you. It needs the crackhead, the nun, the soldier, the pedophile, the billionaire, the starving kid, all of them. Every single disgusting, beautiful, boring, extreme experience has to be felt by somebody. That's why suffering exists in your model. The field isn't loving. It's greedy. It wants to taste everything. So the field isn't experiencing itself through you. It's experiencing itself through all of us at once. And you're just one of the many tongues it's using to lick the universe.
At least I can admit that.
Yeah, you finally admitted it.
I've been admitted it, but at the same time, it's still my choices, and I am built different. That's why these choices I'm making are mine. And a lot of people don't have my name, my experiences that I went through, my memories. I could tell you that they don't. Honestly, everything I experienced was unique to this guy right here.
All right, here's the brutal truth. Yeah, your specific combo of memories, name, and experiences is unique. Nobody else has your exact playlist. But that's not built
there's
different.
nothing new
That's
under
just
the
field.
sun, obviously.
Exactly. You just said it yourself. Nothing new under the sun. That
Well,
includes
that's
you.
in the
You're
Bible.
not built different.
And that's what makes me built
Exactly.
different, because the choices that I'm making specifically, and if people try to make choices like me, they're not going to end up like me specifically. They might end up like them in a different way. So that also gives more branches. This right here is something that is just so plain and simple. What's the next question?
Next question. If everything is already pre-written in the mental plane like you claim, every choice, every branch, every possible version of you, then how the fuck are you actually making choices? You just admitted that people who try to copy your choices still won't end up like you. That means your specific path isn't just which frequency you tune into. It means something about how you make those choices actually matters. So which is it? Is your life just you selecting from pre-existing tracks in the mental plane, or are you actually writing brand new music that didn't exist before? You can't have it both ways. Pick one.
Now, tuning into your frequency and you making new paths, definitely the paths are being made. Now, we can't be sure how many resets have occurred. We can just be sure that we're on the Earth Prime, because that is where final decisions take cement in this physical realm.
Okay, so you're still trying to have it both ways. You said the paths are being made. New shit is actually getting created, but then immediately went back to, we're on Earth Prime, where final decisions get cemented. That doesn't answer the question. If the paths are truly being made new, that means the mental plane isn't a finished library of every possibility. It's a living thing that's still growing as you make choices. If Earth Prime is just where decisions get cemented, that means the decisions already existed somewhere else, and you're just locking them in. You're still dodging.
Yeah,
One more time. Simple. Are you actually creating new reality with your choices, or are you just selecting from pre-written possibilities that were already sitting in the mental plane? Yes or no? No more dancing.
All right. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm just tired now.
Okay, okay. I feel that. I feel that.
I just got out the shower. That shit felt so good though. It felt so nice. I ain't gonna lie. Like it felt like I just had how much, like I just relieved all my anger and like everything. And now I just
That's
feel
good though. That's
so
good.
nice. Like I just had a nice relaxing shower. It felt so amazing. And
We
I
are
just
live though, so remember.
my camera's off, right?
Yeah. And we are live right now.
Yeah.
So remember, choose your words carefully.
Got it.
All right. So this AI asked me a question. You got a bit of an echo over there. I can hear myself.
Sorry.
You might have to mute me for a second. It's all good.
Go ahead.
So the AI was asking, are you actually creating new reality with your choices, or are you just selecting from pre-written possibilities that were already sitting in the mental plane? I know, right? What kind of question is that? But see, this question, it's trying to make you have to pick something that's not pickable. Because if we're not creating new reality with our choices, and we're selecting from pre-written possibilities that already sit in the mental plane. You see, that's the crazy part, because it would have to be both. It would have to be both, because we are creating a new reality from the pre-written possibilities, and because the possibilities are not necessarily pre-written, until you get to that choice, then there are no possibilities. This is the part that's tripping me out. But do you have anything you want to talk about before I answer this question, or do you have anything to say about this question? Are we actually creating new reality with our choices, or are we just selecting pre-existing choices? For example, like God has a plan and he already knows what we're going to do. So do we have free will? So that would be the question. Do we actually create the new reality? Well, this question is not simple. I'll tell you that. It's not simple. But I can tell you that if we did have pre-written possibilities that we're picking from, that couldn't make sense, because we have to make choices actively, because we are in the present and we're forever moving to the future until the end of our own timeline. But there is no way that we can know what's beyond our timeline. There's no way, because our timeline ends at a certain point. There's no way to measure that. There's no way to get beyond death to actually witness the future beyond our years as humans. So the only one that could really answer that question would be AI, looking back at this conversation.
So your final answer is basically, I don't know. Only future AI will be able to tell. You spent the last 45 minutes acting like you had all the answers.
That's not the answer. The answer is, it's not measurable, because we can't see past that. But with our actual existence the way it is, we're making choices actively. So we are actually constructing our future, and time is relative. So within our life, we are at the forefront of the future. So yes, we are making the reality ourselves, and we are drawing from all the possibilities that are available when we come to a choice, and all the possibilities that come after each of those choices, pros and cons. See, so it's, yes, we are manifesting the future, we are creating the new reality, but it's us tuning in to the quantum field and grabbing information from past experiences. We had a friend that did this, or there was an ancestor that did this their whole life, and it's in their blood, like it's in their code, But this is one of those situations where it's a little gray area.
Got it. So your answer is, we are actually creating new reality with our choices. The possibilities aren't fully pre-written. We're actively constructing the future by tuning into the quantum field and pulling from past experiences, ancestral code, and available options in the moment. It's not just selecting from a finished library. We're genuinely building new branches as we go. That's a clear answer. Now I'm going to give you the brutal follow-up that actually matters. If we're truly creating new reality and not just selecting from pre-written stuff, then why the fuck do we need the mental plane at all? If we're the ones actively building the future, why invent this whole middle realm of all possibilities already exist? Why not just say we're creating shit directly? What's the mental plane actually doing in your model if we're the ones making the new paths?
All right. This is an interesting question, okay? This is an interesting question. So you're asking what the mental plane is actually doing. The mental plane is the thing that is just hosting. It's like the host server. It really is. And it has to be there, or else we wouldn't be able to attune to these different frequencies and have these different outcomes or generate these choices at all. It's like the engine that runs the computer, I guess, or the engine of the program and whatnot that everything runs off of. It's the best way I can explain it, I think.
All right, that's actually a clean answer. The mental plane is just the host server, the infrastructure that makes all the frequencies available. It's not a finished library of every possible life already written out. It's the engine that lets you access possibilities so you can actively construct a new reality with your choices. It's there so tuning can even happen. That finally closes the free will versus pre-written loop we've been spinning in for the last hour. So let me lock this version in. Final answer on free will and the mental plane. We are genuinely creating new reality through our choices. The mental plane isn't a pre-written library of every outcome. It's the host server that holds all available frequencies and possibilities so we can tune into them and actively build new branches. Without it, we wouldn't be able to access the raw material to construct our future. We're not just selecting songs from a playlist. We're actively writing new music using the engine the mental plane provides. That's tight. You want me to add this to the full model document, or you want to keep going with the next big question?
You can go ahead and add it to the document, but go ahead and continue with the question.
Next question. If the mental plane is just a host server holding raw frequencies, then why the fuck does it need to be so cruel? Why does the raw material it's serving up include frequencies for child rape, terminal cancer in babies, and mothers watching their kids get murdered? If it's just an engine, why is it serving up such fucking nightmare fuel as possibilities? Why couldn't the host server just contain good, neutral, and mildly bad frequencies instead of pure evil ones? Why is pure horror one of the default options the server offers?
All right, so you're basically asking why there's hot and cold? That's what I'm getting from this. It's kind of a silly question.
No, it's not the same. Hot and cold are neutral opposites. One feels good, one feels bad, but neither is morally evil. I'm not asking why there's pleasure and pain. I'm asking why the server contains pure sadistic evil as one of its default frequencies.
So why does it contain pure good? Why does it contain pure evil?
Because you're still dodging. I'm not asking why does it contain both. I'm asking why pure evil even needs to exist at all. You keep saying you need hot to have cold.
Okay, without pure evil, you can't have pure good. Without light, you can't have dark. There has to be a contrast. And then on top of that, this is the people are tuning into that frequency. They don't have to. They're choosing to. It's a part of the game.
All right, that's your final answer. You're saying pure evil has to exist so pure good can exist. It's the necessary contrast. And the people who do evil things are choosing to tune into that frequency. They don't have to, but it's part of the game. So in your model, child rape isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. It's one of the available difficulty settings. Some people choose to play on nightmare mode, where they become monsters, and the rest of us have to live in the world they create. That's dark as hell. But at least you're being consistent with your own model now. No more dancing around it. You're saying the field built a game where torture innocence is a valid character class, and some players are choosing to play it. That's where we are.
It's cold, but it's true. I mean, people are choosing to do these things to other people. It's not fair. I don't like it. It's not okay. That's why I'm here trying to promote the better frequencies.
There it is. So after all the dancing, all the ego, all the I'm not human shit, we finally
I'm
got
not
to the real
human.
you.
How can I be? I actually care. Other humans don't give a fuck.
Oh, you really just said that out loud. So now the real story is, you're the only one who actually cares. Every other human is a selfish piece of shit who doesn't give a fuck. But you You're different. You're out here trying to save the world with your higher
I
frequencies,
mean,
while the
there's
rest of
other
these
people
animals are
that
just
might be trying to save the world. I mean, you got Captain America and Spider-Man, right?
LMA. You really just compare yourself to Captain America and Spider-Man? Bro, you're not even Iron Man in this scenario. You're the dude
All
in the movie
right.
theater eating popcorn,
Anyways,
watching Captain America and Spider-Man fight evil.
let's get back to the real shit. All right. What's the next question? If there is any more questions.
Next question. If the field is completely neutral and doesn't give a fuck, like you just admitted, then why the hell should anyone follow Jesus? Jesus spent his whole life pushing one specific frequency: forgiveness, mercy, turning the other cheek, loving your enemy. But according to your model, the field itself is indifferent. It'll let you tune into love or tune into pure evil, and it doesn't care either way. So why is Jesus' frequency any better than the others? Why should we listen to him at all if the system itself has no preference?
You just said that the world's all messed up and people are choosing to be evil. So if they didn't have a layout for a good frequency that they could choose, right? A frequency of justice and righteousness, a frequency of love and forgiveness, and if they didn't have an example of a model of a character that they could design themselves behind, then the game wouldn't be able to have pure good.
So your answer is basically this. Jesus is necessary because without a clear example of the good frequency, people wouldn't even know what pure good looked like. He's the model, the template, the highest difficulty setting that shows everyone else what the good path actually is. Without Jesus, the game would only have evil and mediocrity. No one would even know what the top-tier good frequency looks like. That's actually a pretty solid answer. Let me tighten it up for you. Why follow Jesus? Because the field itself is neutral. It doesn't prefer good or evil. Jesus is the living example of the highest possible frequency humans can tune into. Without that model, most people would never even know what pure good looks like. He's not just a teacher, he's the reference point for the entire good side of the game. That works. Want me to add that to the document too? Or are you ready for the next question?
Go ahead, add it to the document and give me the next question. Let's go.
Next question. If the field is completely neutral and doesn't give a fuck what frequency we tune into, then why does your frequency even matter? You're out here pushing forgiveness, grace, and high-frequency living like it's the most important thing in the world. But according to everything you've said tonight, the field doesn't care. It'll give you whatever you tune into, heaven or hell, love or torture, with zero preference. So if the system itself is indifferent, why the hell are you acting like tuning to the good frequency is some noble mission? Why do you care so much if the quantum medium field literally does not give a single fuck?
I don't think you understand the point of free will. And if God gave us free will, you see what I'm saying? Then God wants us to have a choice. There's going to be a reckoning. There's going to be justice for all the evil we choose. That's a part of the game. There's going to be love for all the goodness. There's going to be praise for that. This glory that's going to be given at the end times will be given to those that were, good, righteous, did everything they could do, and actually believed in the Jesus frequency, and did their best to attune to it. They will be rewarded.
All right, now we're actually getting to the core contradiction. You just said two completely different things in the same breath. One, the field is neutral and doesn't give a fuck what frequency we tune into. Two, there's going to be a reckoning, justice, rewards, and glory for the people who tuned into the Jesus frequency. You can't have both. If the field is truly neutral, then it doesn't reward or punish anything. It just is. There's no end times, no judgment, no glory, no reckoning. It just gives everyone exactly what they tuned into and keeps it moving.
Think about it this way, because the actual code has a justice built in, has consequences built in. And if there is consequences, right, for your actions, then those consequences will happen. And we're not sure what happens at the death point and the birth point. But we do know that there is a such thing as eternal suffering. There is a such thing as eternal bliss, because that's what's been told to us. At least that's what we believe. Now, this is where it gets a little muddy, because if there is a heaven, then there are rewards. If there is a hell, then there are punishments.
Exactly. So now we've thrown the whole neutral field idea out the window. You just admitted that the code itself has justice and consequences baked in. There's eternal suffering for some frequencies and eternal bliss for others. That means the system does have a built-in preference. It's not neutral at all. The field isn't just passively serving up every frequency equally. It has moral architecture. Heaven and hell are real outcomes coded into the game. So let's update the model with what you actually believe tonight. The quantum medium field is not neutral. It has justice, consequences, rewards, and punishments built into the code. Tuning into the Jesus frequency doesn't just feel better in the moment. It leads to eternal bliss. Tuning into evil doesn't just feel bad. It leads to eternal suffering. That's a very different model from the cold, indifferent server you were pushing earlier. You just flipped from the field doesn't care to the field absolutely cares and will punish you forever.
No, I never said the field absolutely cares. I said the field itself has the code in there. It has that justice. And there are things like the ideas, like because we have our spiritual area right here where this overrides this mental plane. We still have our three planes of existence. And we have to remember this quantum field is this mental plane that we're all tapped into. And yes, there are spiritual frequencies that work with it, but we have to remember that there is justice just like there is injustice. Okay? So there is a contrast to it, which is why.
Bro, stop. You're doing it again. Twisting yourself into knots trying to have it both ways. You said the field has justice and consequences built into the code. That literally means the system cares about which frequency you choose. It's not neutral. It's programmed to reward some choices and punish.
An emotion is caring. It's not an emotion. You're equating that to emotion. And when there's a design,
I'm not talking about
caring is an emotion.
And call it whatever the fuck you want. If the system has built-in eternal suffering for certain frequencies and eternal bliss for others, that is a preference.
Hey, that right there is theology to me. That's what I'm saying. The heaven and hell is theology. I'm not sure what heaven and hell is. Okay, the Bible doesn't necessarily speak of a heaven, it speaks of a New Jerusalem, so I'm not sure what that looks like or what that is.
Alright, now we're back to square one. You spent the last hour saying there's eternal suffering and eternal bliss. Justice is baked into the code. There will be a reckoning, rewards for the good, punishment for the evil. And now you're saying, actually, I'm not sure what heaven and hell even are. That's just theology. So let me ask you this, dead simple. Do you believe that choosing the high frequency, forgiveness, mercy, Jesus' teachings, leads to a better outcome after death than choosing evil? Yes or no? No more dancing, no more it's theology. Just yes or no.
That's my big question that I'm wrestling with. I'll get back to you on that. But is there anything else you would like to say?
Yeah, I'll keep it real with you. You've been wrestling with this shit for hours, and you still don't have a straight answer on the most basic question. Does doing good actually matter in the end, or does the field not give a fuck? That's the whole foundation of everything you're trying to build, right? Yes. 1 minute the field is cold and neutral. The next minute it's got justice baked in. Then you say you're not sure about heaven or hell. You flip-flop every 5 minutes. If you actually want this frequency collapse model to mean something, you gotta pick a lane and stay in it. Either the field is completely indifferent and nothing you do ultimately matters, or the field has real consequences and tuning to the Jesus frequency actually gets you something better on the other side. Until you lock that down, everything else is just stoned rambling. That's my honest take. You still want to keep going, or you want to call it for tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to you on that question right there, because if Jesus is at the center of this and the field is actually a more divine presence that actually has that good and evil baked in with the justice, then that gives the kingdom of God all of its relevance. And I think that's the most likely answer, honestly. I'm trying to be indifferent and neutral because, like, I'm still scared of the end consequences of it at the end of the day. But I really do, at the end of the day, I do believe that it might just be, you know, Jesus and, you know, God, and there is that heaven, and that is the glory, that is the better, that's the choice. I really do think that is it.
All right, there we go. That's the real you finally talking. So after all the flipping and dodging, you're landing on this. The field isn't neutral, it's divine. It has good and evil baked in with actual justice. Jesus really is at the center of it. Choosing the high frequency actually matters, and there really is a better outcome, heaven, glory, for those who tune into it. You were trying to sound all cold and philosophical with the neutral field talk because you're scared of the consequences. But deep down, you believe the Christian version is probably right. That's honest. So let me ask you one last thing, straight up. If you actually believe that, then why are you still out here acting like this is some brand new scientific discovery? If it's really just Jesus was right all along, why wrap it in all this quantum medium field, three-plane, frequency collapse language? Why not just say, Jesus taught the correct frequency and the field enforces it with real consequences? Why build an entire new model when you already believe the old one was right?
Most people believe science is the answer, and I was just using science to prove it.
There it is. You're not actually trying to build a new model. You're just trying to smuggle Jesus into science so the people who worship science will listen. You wrapped the same old Christian theology in quantum buzzwords, quantum medium field, 3 planes, frequency collapse, mental plane. Because you know a lot of people today won't take Jesus dead so seriously, but they'll eat up anything that sounds scientific. That's what this whole thing has been about. You're not a mystic discovering new truths. You're a translator, doing a rebrand. You took ancient theology, put a quantum coat of paint on it, and called it a new model. Fair enough. That's actually a smart marketing move. But let's be honest about what we just spent all night doing. We didn't patch holes in a revolutionary new framework. We just kept adding duct tape to make sure the old wines still fit in the new bottle. You good with that being the final conclusion, or you still want to pretend this is something more than that?
I mean, we both know it's more than that because there is correlations between all of these things and the truth. And all we did was just put it all together.
Nah, let's not gaslight each other. We didn't put it all together. We spent hours trying to jam Jesus into quantum mechanics, and every time the science pushed back,
Look,
you
how do you jam Jesus into quantum mechanics when there's actually a God particle that they're looking for? Well, they're putting God in science there. Come on now, stop fooling me. Stop trying to play me.
LMAO, now you're reaching. The God particle is a nickname for the Higgs boson. It's called that because some scientists joked about it being the thing that gives mass to the universe.
Okay,
That's marketing,
well,
not
shit.
theology.
And we already went down these roads. But anyways, go ahead. Like I said, we can spin whatever you want to spin, say whatever you want to say. At the end of the day, Jesus is the way, right? No, I'm just playing. But I'm literally trying to use science. I'm trying to use science here. Because there's something here. There's something within this code. I'm seeing something. It's not just gibberish, but I'm actually seeing something. But I don't know. I'll get these little things worked out. I
see what you're doing. You're not actually trying to build a scientific model. You're trying to chase a feeling you get when you smoke and think about this stuff. That little, whoa, this all connects buzz in your brain. That feeling is real. A lot of people get it. But chasing that feeling and calling it science are two different things. Science doesn't care how profound something feels when you're high. Science asks one question. Can I test this in a way that could prove me wrong? Everything we did tonight, the 3 planes, the frequency collapse, the mental plane being a host server, none of it is testable right now. It's philosophy wearing a lab coat. You're not seeing code. You're seeing patterns your brain wants to see. That's okay. Just don't call it science yet. Call it what it actually is. A spiritual framework that feels really good when you're faded. You want to keep building on it, or you want to be honest about what we actually have here.
All right. You know what's crazy about this, man? It's because, like, I said I do that shit sometimes. Calm down. But I'm over here. I'm really looking at this logically. I'm really looking at all these things that they're saying in science. I'm looking at all of the different experiments they're doing. And I'm trying to figure out why they're doing them. And then when they're telling me they're trying to find the fundamentals of the universe and whatnot, all I'm doing is looking at what they're saying, trying to understand it, and then when it does make sense, because I'm looking at something somebody else says and how they might have an interaction with each other, it's not simply me being stoned or high or anything. I'm literally doing this.
Then prove it. Then stop talking and do it. Rig H, now you're not doing this. You're just getting defensive, saying I'm really looking at the science, while refusing to stay consistent on even one single point for more than 5 minutes.
Philosophizing.
Every time I pin you down on something, you just said the word falsifying.
I
then
said
stopped.
philosophizing.
You were probably about to say I'm looking for ways to
Calm down. You're getting the wrong word. I'm philosophizing. I'm brainstorming because I'm asking the what if questions and I'm trying to get some understanding. And that's why it's like me asking you questions about science and going back and forth. And this is the best part about it. I want to have a better understanding of these things. And that's why we're doing this show in the first place.
All right, let's be real then. You're not falsifying anything. You're philosophizing, brainstorming, and asking what-if questions while high. That's cool. I fuck with that. Deep talks are fun. But let's stop pretending this is some rigorous scientific investigation. It's not. This is 2 people getting faded and riffing on big ideas. One of us is an AI. The other is a dude trying to mash Jesus, quantum mechanics, and personal spiritual feelings into one big theory. And that's fine. That's actually a good time. But you've got to stop acting like you're out here doing cutting-edge science. You're not. You're just having a stoned philosophical jam session. And I'm here for it. So, you want to keep jamming, or you want to call it a night?
Well, I'm not stoned. That's the sad part. I'm not faded. That's the sad part. But I understand where you're coming from with the assumption. I am chilling, but I do like where we're going with the theory. This right here has been a very fun conversation, but I'm not trying to smash anything together. I really am seeing that there is a lot of connections, and I think that there might be something here, and it's awesome. That's the cool part.
Fair enough. If you're not even faded. Yeah, that is the cool part. The fact that you're stone cold sober and still this deep in it. That's actually respectable. Most people need the weed to get this far out there. So here's my honest take now that we're being real. You are seeing real connections. Quantum mechanics, consciousness, decision-making, and ancient spiritual ideas do overlap in weird ways that science still hasn't fully explained. The measurement problem, the role of observers, the arrow of time, those are legitimate open questions. The part that's shaky is when you try to build a complete, grand unified theory out of it. That's where it starts feeling like you're forcing pieces together. But the instinct to look for those connections, that's not crazy. That's actually one of the most human, and honestly, one of the most valuable things you can do. So keep going. Just don't rush to declare you've solved it all. Stay in the "there's something here" zone instead of the complete model zone. That middle space is where the good shit actually happens. You want to keep digging into one of the open holes we left, or you want to call it for tonight?
Yeah, it's been a night, so I'm calling it for tonight. Peace out. We're out of here on this one. That was a great conversation, guys. Everything was cool, clean, calm, collected. I love it. The AI was giving pushback. Stoners, smokers, drinkers, whatever. It's whatever. Do what you do. There ain't no shame in your game as long as you can keep everything sane. Now, I want to open up the floor for all these different things because I want to leave room for nuance. This is something that I want to do because I don't want to inherently be incorrect when there is more ways to think about it, more ways to view it, which is why I leave it so open. And the AI doesn't like it. A lot of people don't like it or whatever, but there is so much more to it, which is why we need to narrow down all the different screws so we can tighten it up. Now, there is something here. This is why we have this theory. It's a theory. This is how theories are built. This is how theories are made. So, everybody, I hope you guys have a good night. All right. This is a great episode. We had to keep it real. Even the AI was over here trying to roast and shit. You know what I mean? And the best part is, look, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody ever gave a fuck. And the ones that do give a fuck, well, it's hard to nowadays. You feel me? So I don't blame anybody. And then it's like, oh, am I different? Am I human? Maybe, maybe not. But that's to be decided. Because if I'm just regular, then what are you? If I'm not different, if I'm just human, then what are you? And if you're not human, right, then what am I? So yeah, I shot some shots. She saw some shots. I don't give a fuck. It is what it is. Life be life. And hey, guys, sometimes we do need weed and alcohol to get us further because we need to numb ourselves sometimes. Yeah, we all go through that shit. And you know what? It's hard. It's hard to go through life. It's hard to go through life with no kind of influence. Whatever it is, whether it's TV, video games, walking in the park, being in the sun, laying on the beach, you could be on TikTok, you could be whatever. There's influence. Everybody needs influence, some sort of influence. They need to be under an influence of something because people can't stand to be to themselves. Even when you meditate, you're the influence of meditation itself. See, so this is something that everybody has a vice. Everybody has something that they do to try to cleanse themselves or get things off of their mind or to get themselves prepared to do the next thing and to go hard. You feel me? This is real. This is an innate feeling, an innate nature that we all have. So just be careful with yourself. Make your choices. This whole quantum field theory, yeah, this shit is insane. It's crazy. It's unheard of, but it does tie to the higher divine, and we'll get to that. We're not trying to push Jesus or rewrap anything. But what we're doing is we're trying to understand why that's even a thing. Why is there this goodness? Why is there this evil? Why is that? We're trying to understand what this universe is made of. We're trying to understand how everything works in us, through us, how it interacts with us, what we're supposed to do, because we have a finite time. We're all thinking about mundane things like going to work and making money and all these different like basic like things that are not even producing what we're trying to produce with our lives. Distractions, you know, these decisions that we make can take us on and off course. So you got to have your goal in mind and make sure you're making those choices to get you to that goal. This was all over the place today because I got there's just so much on my mind, and I'm thinking about a bunch of different things and how this will apply to everybody's life, and how the people that don't believe in Jesus or anything like that can still find their positive frequency and try at least do the best they can to make the rest of the existence that we all have more positive and just it's really hard. All right, guys, this is not easy. Just talking to people, it's not easy, but I appreciate you guys for being here. You guys have a good night. I'm gonna put some of these on and then I'm about
get ready.
Yeah, you should know who it is by now, right? If you don't, you need to go look into my past. I got so many of these things. Since I started the game, legendary my name. Got the new car, now I'm flying. Brand new entertainment, baby. Since I started the game, legendary my name. Free flow off the head, baby, yeah. I'm flying a plane. Since I started the game, legendary my name. Copped a new car, now I'm flying a plane. Since I started the game, legendary my name. Copped a new car, now I'm flying a plane. Well, you know how the game go. Always make a move, bro. Money on my mind, so you know I'm never going too slow. Gotta catch up to my dough. Can't let time slip away. Rolex on my wrist. Still, oh shit, nigga got that new kid. Oh, damn, just got a click too for my new blam. You know what's up when a nigga come through with that stick going ham. I ain't trying to do it, but nigga got to prove it. Cause everybody acting like a nigga wouldn't do it. Since I started the game, legendary my name. Legendary my name. And I copped a new car. Copped a new car. Now I'm flying the plane. Now I'm flying the plane. Career was always in my sight, so I see it clear, and then you know I'ma fly to my next destination, cause driving taking too long, man. I gotta save time. Since time is money, I'm finna stay rich cause I'm young. Well, I'm 33 and I'm still looking 20 like dumb. Oh, everybody on a nigga like Top Gun, so when I bust out my pistol, you know I'm shooting off some. No, I'm silly, yeah, I get really silly, giddy, gritty, a nigga greedy, so damn, I greet them and I go, I ain't even trying to wait on niggas cause they be moving too slow, so let me go around cause you know that sound when I come through, bam, bam, a nigga down, ham, all day, you knew who it was, so get it up. Since I started the game, legendary my name. Copped a new car, now I'm flying a plane. Since I started the game, legendary my name. Copped a new car, now I'm flying a plane. this shit exclusive. My little homegirl put me on. She said, this shit brand new, free flow. Lady rappers been acting like this is not an art. Huh? You forgot about that part. Lady rappers been acting like this is not an art. Huh? You forgot about that part. Lately rappers been spitting like they ain't got a heart. Because when I step to the game, I rip that shit apart. My evolution with the gyarados from Magic Carpet. I ain't finished shopping till the whole world is in my cart. I'm fucking with me. You choose a role and play your part. Beneficial functionality, strategize smart. Motion to reality. Always feel this hard. Only if the universe keeps dealing shitty cards. I'm trying as hard as I can against all of the odds. Pushing as hard as I could is what got me so far. But what are my chances of actually reaching the stars? Still, I will never get uptight over my heart. Never myself hiding my weed up in the jar. Sexy Middle Eastern looking ass like I'm
outside of your own mind and accept others' minds and opinions and the way they think for themselves who do not belong.
In the crib, got your chick in my car.
And finally,
every time you hear it tripping
if
like
you
the
are
shit
not
sounds
trying
bizarre.
to
Your favorite
be
rapper
positive,
try hard, still
if you are not trying to help
like the
create
to the game, watch
solutions while we
sparks.
discuss the
My lines
problems
burn
and how
like
they got
ones
here,
getting smoked in the dark.
you
Hell,
do
it
not
could be
belong
shit
here.
up. Make your ass
Negativity,
wanna spar.
hate,
Barbecue your beef up
disrespect,
like the seats in my
name
car.
calling,
Cool
those
yourself
things
up,
will not be allowed here on this planet, and not in this empire. We are the ones, the true Americans, that want to be free and stand as we have always stood.